Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 267, Strickland vs. Hernandez, also known as UFC Houston. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com. With me this week, in place of Keith Schillen, is Mr. Devin Tejada, host of the Check the Kick podcast on the Sherdog Radio Network. Dev, thanks for joining me. It's been a while, and how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I think we did a recap somewhat recently. I think that was actually for the Gaethje Patty card, so it has been a little bit of time since we've done something. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about fights. And this is in your neck of the woods, man.
It is. It's down here in Houston. All the fight week stuff kind of starts up Wednesday morning. Sherdog associate editor Jay Petrie is driving down from Austin. He's going to crash with me for a couple days. We'll do up all the fight week stuff. You might get a little bit of behind the scenes stuff during fight week and on fight night, depending on how things go for me and what the Wi-Fi is like in the Toyota Center. So I'm going to ask you a couple of the questions I would usually ask Keith ahead of these. First of all, which fight on the card are you most excited for, let's say, outside of the main event?
There's some good fights on this card, and then there's some fights that I could probably do without, but I think that's just like current UFC for the last 3 years anyway. I think the best fight on the card, outside the co-main and main event, is probably the third from the top, Dan Ige versus Melquizael Costa. Melquizael Costa, a dude that's kind of surging, and then Dan Ige is a guy where we've clearly seen his ceiling, but he's still a very good fighter. This is a ranked fight in the featherweight division. I believe Dan Ige is at least ranked per the UFC rankings. Melky should be if he's not. Melky's on a hell of a streak too, and Dan Ige is a tough, hard-punching dude. I think that's a really good fight. Probably fight of the night type stuff.
Obviously, Dan Ige, always a threat to be your fight of the night. I'm really excited for that one as well. There's a good number of Texas-based, even specifically Houston-based fighters on this card. The UFC did a good job of kind of gathering some of that talent onto this card just to put a few extra butts in the seats and a little enthusiasm on the people in the crowd. I'm glad that Yadier Valle has been doing as well as he has in the UFC.
Yes.
I thought he was an outstanding prospect when he was fighting around here locally. I'm excited to see him against Jordan Leavitt on the undercard here. I'm excited for Alden Coria. He's a guy that's been a promising dude around town, flew a little bit under the radar because he had some early losses. Just, when you're cruising along at 8-3, you don't get the same buzz as if you're cruising along at 10-0. I'm excited to see what he has to show us, and it'll be good to have Jeff Neal back. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get all the way up to the co-main events, but because you were standing in for Keith on this card, you're going to have to do one of Keith's jobs, which is to not know the odds in advance and make wild and possibly terrible guesses at them as we go up the card. Will you confirm for me that you do not know what the odds are on these fights?
I don't know any of the odds. I only know, I think I was listening to some podcast while I was out and about today, and they started talking about the main event, and I heard that Fluffy was favored, but I started hitting fast forward right away as fast as I could to get through that. So he may be favored. I don't know. I haven't looked at a single odd. I could guess, but who knows if I'll be right.
Well, I'm going to ask you to guess something right now. Who's the biggest favorite on the card?
Ooh, Jacobe Smith.
Close. We'll talk about the biggest favorite on the card. We'll talk about all the lines on the card as we get to them, obviously. Any other general thoughts on this one before we jump into these extensive prelims?
No, I'm kind of excited. This should be good. I've been refreshing all day, kind of looking through the fights, and even like the Joselyne Edwards fight, like, yeah, it's women's bantamweight and it's Joselyne Edwards, but like she's been doing cool stuff lately. So I am excited for this one.
First up on the UFC Houston prelims is a women's flyweight matchup between Juliana Miller and Carli Judice. Miller, the 29-year-old Californian, is 4-3 overall. She's 2-2 since joining the UFC out of Invicta Fighting Championships. She won her last time out. It was back in May of last year. She picked up a unanimous decision over Ivana Petrovic. She will look to stretch that into 2 in a row against Judice. 26-year-old Louisiana native is 5-2 overall, 2-1 since joining the UFC as a veteran of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series, where she lost but was subsequently signed anyway. She is on a 2-fight win streak comprising both of her cage appearances of 2025. She knocked out Yunesi Dubin in March, then came back in July at UFC 318 and stopped Nicole Cagliari in the 3rd round. She'll look to make it 3 in a row. She is comfortably favored to do so. I quizzed you on this during the intro. Carli Judice is actually the biggest favorite on the card. She is a whopping -800. Juliana Miller plus 525. I'm going to say right off the bat that I'm cautiously high on Carli Judice as a prospect. And she is somebody that I underestimated coming into the UFC. Like, I'm not going to claim to be super plugged into the Louisiana local fight scene, but it is adjacent to Texas. You'll see when you watch this card, folks, when she walks out, they're going to treat her as one of our own. Houston is very close to the Louisiana border. We think of Louisiana as, yeah, our cool next door neighbor. We'll get to the Oklahoma fight.
Different.
Well,
I was going to say, never mind. Cool neighbor's better.
Our special cousin who's a little cross-eyed. Yeah.
Crossed with their, never mind.
That's compared to when we get to the Oklahoma fighter on this card, we will not be claiming him as our own.
Okay.
Texas's relationship with Oklahoma, different. But what I'll say is this. I like Judice as a prospect. I understand why she's favored over Miller. Not only is she probably just a better fighter, but in terms of style matchup, this is a very lopsided style matchup. But we're talking about 2 fighters with 7 professional fights respectively, who are both in their 20s. Either one of them could have made an enormous step forward in skill and talent since the last time we saw them. And for that reason alone, I'm uncomfortable with somebody being a nearly 10-1 favorite in a matchup like this. They're just not known quantities to that extent. And having said that, I'm about to go off right now on why Carli Judice is just going to whip the shit out of Juliana Miller. Miller has kind of shown what she is. Like, as I said, both these women are in their 20s, but the things that are representing Juliana Miller's ceiling as a fighter at this level aren't really fixable things. Whereas Judice has some spots to work on that she could and could continue to ascend through the ranks and maybe be a contender in this division. Miller's a big flyweight. She's a good grappler. And she's just not very athletic. She is not much of a wrestler at all. And because of that, she is a big, skilled grappler who has a lot of trouble getting fights to the ground in the time, place, and situation of her choosing. Honestly, a little bit like a women's version of Jordan Leavitt, whom we'll be talking about in a few minutes, where given the right matchup, Leavitt can look like $1 million, but we've also seen him just get stuck on an island and boxed up really badly against fighters that can stay standing against him. And that spells disaster for Miller here. Judice is a kickboxer by inclination, quick hands, decent power, decent footwork. I think she's going to pepper Miller badly. Just give her lateral movement, kick her legs, hit her with the jab. I see Miller kind of barging forward on straight lines, behind punches, trying to maybe run Judice to the fence, where if she gets any takedowns in this fight, it's going to be up against the fence. There's the outside chance of that, but I don't see that happening here. I think Judice is going to bust up Miller pretty badly. Judice isn't a massive hitter. She's more one that, well, I say that she's blasted a couple women in her last few fights, so maybe I'm still slow to learn. But I see this as a thing where maybe we see a 3rd round TKO where Miller is exhausted, frustrated, beat up. Judice has piled up like 250 significant strikes, and finally it's just kind of a mercy kill in the 3rd round. She goes down one more time, and ref just jumps in, and this thing's over. Give me Judice by 3rd round TKO.
This is a fight that, I mean, I'll say that I'm semi invested in just because I do think Carli Judice has like a really cool game for her age in this division. I think her record, um, you know, just having 7 pro fights, 5 wins and 2 losses. Like I still think she's better than that. Even like her losses are a little bit sus. In the UFC, like her Gabriela Fernandez fight, like that was a splitty, and then she lost the splitty on Contender Series. Like she could very well just be undefeated, and we'd be probably having an even different conversation about her. But having those 2 losses is fine, just because Juliana Miller, she's fighting Juliana Miller. She still exists. Juliana Miller is a little bit more of a known commodity just because she kind of came up through tough and she won the Ultimate Fighter. But she's not good. Her problem is it's 2026 and she's a 10th planet BJJ fighter, and at the UFC level. She has no defense on the feet. She will step over her feet, throwing combinations. Juliana Miller's, people will say her best asset is her BJJ, and I would say that's probably her second best asset. I truly think her best asset is her like tenacity and her toughness.
Mm-hmm.
Like she is very tough. Like
Yeah.
Judice is going to hit her 1,000,000,000 times in this fight, and she will not deter. She has no wrestling. You said that her best chance of a takedown is up against the cage. I think her plan will probably be to try to push Judice up against the cage, and then try to maybe force her to like force the clinch and then do some like sort of like standing back takes against the cage. I think that's like going to be her best bet for success in this fight. Problem is like Judice knows how to fight in the pocket and like has footwork, and she can like enter the pocket, throw a 3-piece combination, and then like exit. And Juliana Miller literally looks like she's swatting, an angry horde of bees, like on the front foot. Like she is just, she's swatting at flies moving forward. She's aggressive. She's tenacious. Like her toughness is like what's got her here. She can be like, if they do get stuck on the ground, like even if Miller's on bottom, like that is Carli Judice is primed to rock Juliana Miller, foolishly follow her to the ground, and then just get triangled from bottom. Like Juliana Miller is the type of person that would do that to her. But I don't see that happening. I see Carli Judice just like meeting her in the pocket, hitting her with 2 and 3 punch combinations, and then just like exiting. And Juliana Miller will chase her. And Juliana Miller is the type of fighter to like run headfirst, and not just run headfirst, but run headfirst and then dive into a wood chipper. Like that's just her game. And I think Judice will be that wood chipper. Like her nickname is Crispy. She does have some really nice crispy boxing. If she wants to just stick a jab on Miller anytime Miller tries to crash the pocket and start some entanglement, she can do that. She probably will do that through 1 round. And then like through 2 and 3, like if she really just starts sitting down on shit, Miller is not going to throw anything back that can hurt her at all. Like she could lace her up. And I think 3rd round TKO is probably a good call. But we will probably know 4 minutes into this where it's like, oof, Miller is just continuously walking onto hard shots. Judice is not a 1-punch knockout. Like, this is Jessica Andrade. She would just run face first into like 1 shot and die. But she's going to be running into someone that's just going to be hitting her with a roll full of nickels over and over again. So I would not be surprised if Judice racks up like over 200 significant strikes and just like laying belt to ass. Judice, give me her 3-round. I think it'll go to decision. I think Miller's tough enough. So give me Judice to win a really dominant decision where it's just like, oh boy.
Next up on the UFC Fight Night 267 prelims is a featherweight matchup between Jordan Leavitt and Yadier del Valle. Leavitt, the 30-year-old Las Vegas native, is 12-3 overall. He's 5-3 since joining the UFC out of Season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought most recently last May at UFC on ESPN Blanchfield vs. Barber, where he choked Kurt Hollabaugh all the way to sleep. Leavitt is moving down to 145 pounds here after having spent the first portion of his UFC run at 155. We'll see whether it changes his fortunes. In the other corner is going to be Del Valle. 29-year-old Cuban-American by way of Houston is a perfect 10-0 as a professional. He's 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought twice last year. He choked out Connor Matthews in May, then came back in November and choked out Isaac Dolgarian in a, let's just say, suspiciously lopsided showing that reopened the whole possible insider betting scandal in the UFC like an old wound. But at any rate, Del Valle looking for his 11th straight win to open his career, 3rd straight win to open his UFC run, comfortably favored to do so. He's minus 400, Leavitt plus 320 coming back. This is another fight. We just finished talking about Juliana Miller versus Carli Judice. This is another one with a very similar dynamic where Leavitt is a big fighter for the division. He's going to be even bigger at 145. A dangerous grappler, though I'm going to say that might be a little overstated, and just a poor striker and poor wrestler. And because of that, he is very much at the mercy of style matchups. And that's going to spell disaster against Yadier Del Valle. Del Valle is a guy that's, he's been a person of interest in the Texas regional scene for years. If you're watching us on YouTube right now and you see these guys underneath us, that picture of Yadier Del Valle was taken on my phone backstage at Fury. Like, I've had my eye on him as a prospect for a while. And locally on the way up, he presented as a just solid pocket boxer with good anti-wrestling. And the word you would always hear is that, no, this guy can grapple. He's a good grappler. He just prefers to conduct his business on the feet. And wouldn't you know, in back-to-back performances in the UFC, he's looked venomous on the ground. The Dolgarian fight, again, that's a throwaway. Dolgarian was either hiding an injury or intentionally underperforming in the fight. It's just more of that garbage that's going to kill this sport if we don't do something about it. But the Connor Matthews fight, again, roughed him up on the feet, then took his back in transition and just closed things out in a hurry from there. The skill set that we're seeing from Yadier Del Valle right now, he's just 10-0. Men's 145 is one of the deepest divisions in the entire sport, but he looks like a future contender. And there aren't many people that I would say that about 2 fights into their UFC run. You just have to do too much. You have to win too many fights in a row, beat too many guys in different styles to even get into the outskirts of the top 10 in this division. But Del Valle looks like the real deal. He's not a huge guy for the division, but he's a very good athlete, just fast, fluid, excellent balance, well-conditioned. He's got outstanding hands. He's one of the guys that just delivers power through good mechanics and just good natural power without overswinging on things. And the fact that he is a good wrestler and a good grappler as well, it answers a lot of questions in advance. Like, when Yadier Del Valle loses a fight, eventually, someone's going to have to beat him. And I don't think it's going to be Jordan Leavitt. This is going to be a slaughter. Basically, if you're a regular viewer of this show, you know that the way I approach it is, if there's a big favorite in a fight, someone who's 3-1 or greater, I'll start from the opposite proposition. What's it look like if the upset happens? Sometimes there's a big favorite, but nonetheless, you can see a logical and plausible route to victory for the underdog. Other ones, like this fight, basically for Leavitt to win, Del Valle would have to make a huge mistake. And that's possible. He's a young fighter. He's an inexperienced fighter. Thus far, through 2 fights in the UFC, he's actually faced less adversity than he did in Fury. So I mean, you never know. Leavitt could catch him with just some silly haymaker on the feet and make something happen. Del Valle could slip on an octagon decal. But these are low percentage things we're talking about here. What's most likely to happen is Leavitt is going to run face first into the wood chipper, as Dev described it, over and over again until he can't anymore. And Leavitt is tough to a fault. We've seen him take ungodly amounts of damage, but the problem remains. He is one of the worst strikers in the UFC. He's actually come along a little ways, and he is still one of the worst strikers in the UFC. Like, kind of slow of hand and foot, and does not make it especially better with good technique. These guys are going to look like they're fighting at two different speeds. Del Valle is going to bust Leavitt up bad. Leavitt being as tough as he is, I'm going to say this makes it to the second round, but I'm picturing like a 10-8 first round, serious talk on the stool in between, and then Del Valle just dusting Leavitt in the first half of the second round. Give me Yadier Del Valle by second round knockout.
Right as we started recording this fight here, I was like, yeah, lightweight, right? And you're like, hold on, let me check. No, this is a featherweight bout, which I mean,
yep.
Like, I said it was stupid because somebody is just defensively porous in the striking as Jordan Leavitt. Like, dude, you're better off just going up another 15 pounds to try to retain some sort of, just try to retain some water in your brain to take a little more damage. Because when you're, no, truly, when you know that you've got to rely on some sort of like durability and toughness, but then you just cut an extra 10 pounds and go and you're gonna go fight a killer like Yadier Del Valle. Like Del Valle is a dude that would willingly meet him in the grappling because he's a damn good grappler, but on the feet he's light years ahead. He's got way better boxing, better footwork. He's a decent kicker. I feel like he's probably going to uppercut Jordan Leavitt's head off. Jordan Leavitt's going to probably shoot a slow, bad takedown. Jordan Leavitt will kind of lean forward and zombie his way, towards somebody's waist. And I could just see Del Valle like cutting an ankle and just blasting him with a big uppercut. If I was in his corner, that'd be my plan. Like, hey, he's going to shoot bad takedowns. He's cutting an extra 10 pounds. Like, we're going to be throwing uppercuts. And I say uppercuts over knees because if you throw the uppercut, the underhook's right there anyway. And then you can just, chuck this dude off of you and get back to it. Del Valle is also fucking huge. Like, he's a big dude in this division. So I also thought, I was like, man, he's moving to 155. Good for him. It's interesting too, because both divisions, 45 and 55 right now are kind of in weird, places, I guess you could say. Like, they're definitely not as stacked as they once were. I just think it's a silly idea for Jordan Leavitt with the game that he has. Like, he just, I don't know.
None of his problems are going to be solved by moving down to 145.
Absolutely not. Just having such poor striking and being so defensively porous and like relying on your durability again, but then just like, if you've got 10 XP points and you need all 10 of them, to accrue damage, and then you just give away 3 of them, like you're just handicapping yourself. Like, dude, like, just stay at 55 and fight these weird types of fun fights. Like, he should be, I'm pretty sure he's gone, but like, he should be trying to fight dudes like Slava Claus and like Kurt Hollabaugh and just that level of opponent. Not Yadier Del Valle, especially going down. I'm curious as to why he's going down. This is a Yadier Del Valle is from Houston.
Yep.
They want this guy to win a fight. I do find that a little bit interesting though, because I'm from South Florida and there's like a huge Cuban population where I grew up, but I haven't really. Is there a Cuban population in Houston, or is he just kind of like
no, not much
like,
of one. So he's like there are a couple on the local
of course
scene,
I'm sure,
but no, he's just in a sea of like Mexicans and Guatemalans and Hondurans down here. Yeah.
And Yadier Del Valle is like if you watch him fight with his just like speed and athleticism, he looks like a dude that's just like cut his teeth. Like, if someone told me he was like a boxer, or like a wrestler in Cuba, I'd be like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Because he's a killer, dude. Like I'm high on Yadier. I think he can do a lot of things. Just like imagine him fighting like Kevin Vallejos or something like that. Like that'd be a great fight. Hopefully he clears this fight and he goes and picks himself a fight with someone like Giga Chikadze or something like he's not the oldest dude, but he's not the youngest dude. He's undefeated. Like let's start moving him up.
We head next to the welterweight division as Phil Rowe meets Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani. Rowe, the 35-year-old New York native, is 11-6 overall. He's 4-4 since joining the UFC out of season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series. That's the good news. The bad news is that he's lost 3 of his last 4, including his most recent outing, which was at UFC Fight Night Garcia versus Onama last November, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Seokyung Ko. He's actually stepping in here for Austin Vanderford, who fell off the card. It'll be about a month out from Fight Night, so short camp, but not super short notice. And he'll be taking on Lebosnoyani. The 27-year-old fighting out of Southern California is 9-2 overall. This will be his UFC debut, but he fought on the Contender Series last September, knocking out Jack Congdon in just a minute and 8 seconds. Odds here favor the newcomer pretty strongly. He's minus 210, Rowe plus 170 coming back. One thing I'm pretty sure is when these two guys get in the cage, they're going to look like they belong in 2 different weight classes. Phil Rowe is a big welterweight, just a tall, long-framed guy, and not like tall and skinny. Like he's just a tall, big dude. Where Lebosnoyani, on his regional tape and on the Contender Series, he looked a little undersized at welterweight. And that's not the end of the world, and that's not to say he's going to lose to Rowe, or not that he's going to lose to Rowe because of that. I mean, ask Colby Covington how far you can get in the 170-pound division being visibly smaller than most of your opponents. You can be pretty damn good. But his Contender Series appearance didn't show us much. I mean, he came out and essentially one-shotted Jack Congdon. He just head kicked him clean and then put him down with a punch that may not even have been necessary. But you look back at his footage in LFA, and he's a well-rounded fighter. And interestingly, for a guy that is in his 20s, and this will only be his 12th professional fight, he knows that he's a pretty good striker, pretty good wrestler, pretty good grappler, and he's already seems to be developing an instinct for where his advantages are against his opponents in those phases, and kind of trying to push the fight in that direction. The old, MMA cliche of I just need to go out and impose my will, impose my game plan. It sounds silly when they say it, but we need to place a premium on fighters just knowing what they're good at and going out and trying to do it. And Lebosnoyani, I mean, kind of like I said about Yadier del Valle, because Lebosnoyani is pretty well-rounded and already seems to have a decent head on his shoulders, when he eventually loses a fight in the UFC, someone's going to have to beat him. I don't think he's just going to piss away a fight. That brings us to Phil Rowe, who never met a fight he couldn't piss away. On raw talent and skills, he should be a top 15-ish guy in this division, and this is a tough division.
I used to believe
top
that.
15. Yeah. So, I mean, I hate to just make the obvious comparison, but he has the kind of Neil Magny, Kevin Holland kind of build, and he's a good striker. Like, he has fast hands. At his best, he understands that he has reach on almost everybody and uses it well. He has like nice kicks that he throws to all levels. He has a great jab that can be more than just a tool. It can be a weapon. And then the gap between the grappling he displays in the cage in the UFC versus the grappling you'll see on his like gym footage, or him even competing in grappling, because he will compete as a grappler in between MMA fights, is stark. You just have to go, why do we never see you bring this stuff out in the UFC? Yeah, Rowe kind of seems to be his own worst enemy in a lot of ways in the UFC. And it's not even a matter of like whether I've given up on him, like who gives a shit what I think, but he's at the point where I think the UFC is probably about to give up on him. And Lebosnoyani is a 2-1 favorite here. And I think it is based sheerly on bettors' expectation that Rowe's going to find a way to lose this fight because he's going to be bigger. He's going to be faster. He's going to, I think he's a better technical striker. He's probably at least as good a grappler in a vacuum, but I think Rowe's probably going to find a way to lose this fight. Lebosnoyani's going to catch him with a big shot on the feet in a momentary defensive lapse, or maybe Rowe will be putting it on him on the feet and Lebosnoyani will shoot a nice reactive takedown, stop the momentum, start piling up his own offense. Just, it's going to come down to Lebosnoyani finding a way to win this fight and or Rowe finding a way to lose it. The way that Rowe's losses have been going, like he's been hanging in tough, and Lebosnoyani is definitely a finisher. So we do kind of have a clash there. I'm going to say that this makes it to the final horn, but yeah, give me Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani to have a successful debut, winning 2 rounds out of 3 against Phil Rowe.
One of Rowe's biggest problems in general is like he doesn't even start fighting until the 3rd round of every fight that he's in. Like, it's just this weird thing where he's just like hanging out in fights. He's so willing to like be on the back foot, even though he's like really, really long. Lebosnoyani, to me, he also just like watching the little bit of tape I did on him, like he reads as like more of a BJJ guy than a striker, but like a dude that's definitely like got his striking along. Even like the Contender Series commentary when he got that knockout was beautiful. He kind of did the, he'll throw the jab, throw the cross, and then like throw the head kick like right behind that cross, like that, like very Robert Whitaker like, where they're just hiding that head kick just behind their rear hand as they throw it, and that's how he won his fight in the Contender Series. He probably should be a 55er. Like he's listed as 5'11" here on Sherdog, but like he if you told me he's 5'9.5", I'd believe it.
I will report, because every time I'm at an event, whether it's a Fury or LFA event locally, or I cover a UFC event, like I'm always correcting people's heights in the Sherdog fight.
Well, he's got he like a tailor. You got the long tape measure. You're like, stand on the wall, get a butter knife, top of the head.
Yeah, it's brilliant because I'm gonna be face to face with these people, probably barefoot. So no worrying that they have some Sylvester Stallone lifts in their shoes or anything. Here, I'll go on a quick rant. We know that unless you're fighting in an unregulated area for one championship, we know how much you weigh when you fight because there's an official weigh-in. There's no official height in. Take someone like, hell, Chidi Njokuani has like 40 MMA fights and literally 100 kickboxing and Muay Thai fights. We have him listed at 6'3", and that is going to be based on what he told a promoter literally 18 years ago ahead of like his 3rd pro fight, and that got passed along to Bellator, and then it got passed from Bellator to the UFC, and nobody's ever bothered to verify it, which is why you end up with things like Shane Carwin magically shrinking from 6'5" to 6'1" across the course of his UFC career. Like he wasn't shrinking, just people realize that, wait, he's shorter than Mir and Lesnar. Like this 6'5" is wrong. So anyway, yeah, fighter heights are bullshit. Don't believe them.
But you should believe Phil Rose because he is tall as shit. He has got to be.
Yeah, no,
he, like
Phil Rose a huge dude.
He's huge. He's really tall. He's very lanky. I think the Phil Rowe's biggest problem against someone like Lebosnoyani is the fact that like I'm gonna just call him Jean Paul. Should call him Sean Paul. Is Jean Paul is like willing
Isn't
to
Sean
get on
Paul like that like reggae like dance hall guy? Yeah,
okay. Man. Anyway. I saw him live once. The whole place smelled like weed. Lebosnoyani, Jean Paul, he's just like willing to go out and get on the front foot and do lots of stuff right away. and Phil Rowe like does not want to do lots of stuff right away, Lebosnoyani could like go and just throw some big haymaker combos against, make Phil Rowe take the back foot, push him up against the cage, start some sort of like single leg takedowns up against the cage, or he could just go press him with offense and just, throw 3-4-1, 3 or 4-1 and just not get knocked out in the third round when Phil Rowe decides to finally start like punching back and punching with him. You look at Phil Rowe's record and it's like, his last time out, he lost a decision. His time before that, he was getting beat by Angelusa. Angelusa is, no offense, not very good. And like literally it took him 14 minutes, to finally be like, oh shit, I should just punch this guy a lot. If Angelusa didn't get knocked out, like how was that fight gonna go? Went to split decision against Neil Magny. Like he knocked out Nico Price in the third round.
Yeah.
Like
and that's not aged well. No, his loss to Magny is probably his best performance in the last 2 years.
Like even on the Contender Series, like against the lesser Shabazian, he was getting beat that whole entire fight, and he goes and gets the knockout in the third round. Gabe Green is actually a pretty decent loss to him. Orion Kosi no longer in the UFC. Jason Witt no longer in the UFC. Nico Price, I'm pretty sure he's no longer in the UFC. So like Angelusa is a guy that, may or may not be in the UFC anymore. Really, none of Phil Rowe's wins in the UFC are, age.
I'm serious, dude. No, like, I'm serious. Like the loss to Magny is probably his best performance in the UFC.
I think someone like Jean Paul could go and watch the Angelusa fight and go and watch the Jake Matthews fight. Him and Jake Matthews are very similar stature, and they have very similar, I don't want to say very similar games, but very similar skill sets, like good hard boxing, good kicks, and like good, decent wrestling and decent BJJ. It's hard to pick Phil Rowe in a fight where you just, you've got a guy that's making his UFC debut. You've got a guy that's like going to go and get on the front foot and just go do lots of stuff. In MMA, doing lots of stuff just wins you fights, especially like at this level outside the rankings. Give me Jean Paul to win a 3-round decision here.
We stay in the welterweight division on the UFC Houston undercard as Ramiz Brahimaj and Punahele Soriano square off. Brahimaj, the 33-year-old New Yorker, now training out of Chicago, is 13-5 overall, 5-3 in the UFC, and he is on a 3-fight win streak, dating back actually a little over a year. He fought twice last year, choked out Billy Goff in May, then came back in October at UFC 320 and choked out Austin Vanderford. So he'll be looking for his 4th win in a row. Quite an achievement in the welterweight division. In order to do so, he will need to get past Puna Soriano, who is trying to do the exact same thing. 33-year-old Hawaiian by way of Las Vegas is 12-4 overall. He is 6-4 in the UFC. He is 3-0 since dropping to welterweight. He had mixed results at 185 pounds, dropped to 170, and since then he is undefeated with wins over Miguel Baeza, Uroš Medic, whom we'll be talking about in a little while, and in his most recent outing, Nikolai Veretennikov, over whom he won a unanimous decision at UFC 320, the very same card last October. So 2 gentlemen looking for their 4th straight win in this division, slightly under the radar success stories. Your favorite is -130, underdog +110. Who are they, Dev?
I think Brahimaj is probably the favorite.
You are correct. Ramiz Brahimaj, -130, Punahele Soriano, +110. Both of these guys are pleasant surprises to me. I thought Brahimaj was, I thought Brahimaj was going to be just another dude who'd probably go like 500 in the UFC until the wheels fell off, then lose 3 or 4 in a row and be gone. Instead, he started off going 500 in the UFC, then kind of turned a corner, and now he's won 3 fights in a row. He came to the UFC kind of presented primarily as a grappling specialist. Like, obviously, he came to the UFC with a million submission wins and some outside the cage, like actual mat credentials. but I think his striking was probably a little underrated all along, and it's come along. Like he was at Serra-Longo when he joined the UFC. Now he's over at Valley Flow. Those are two of the better striking camps in the sport, especially for guys kind of starting from where he was. Like, you take a guy that was a grappling specialist, going to teach him to strike in MMA. Those are definitely good camps to go to. Yeah, I'm interested to see what his ceiling is here. He feels a little undersized to me, but you know what? He's comfortable enough striking at this point that it's not really costing him. We just finished talking about Juliana Miller and Jordan Leavitt. We don't see Ramiz Brahimaj just stuck on an island getting busted up on the feet because he's desperate to get the fight to the ground. He's now winning fights on the feet, just flat out winning them on the feet, or putting in work there until he can bring the fight to the ground at the time and circumstances of his choosing. Like he's really been a revelation. And this is a division where you have to win a lot of fights to really get on the radar. So yeah, these guys are flying under the radar. The same goes for Soriano. Soriano was having a rough run at 185 pounds. And 18 months ago, 20 months ago, when he announced that he was dropping to 170, I was like, this is not going to go well. I didn't think his problems at 185 were the kind of problems that were going to be solved by a change in weight. And more importantly, he is a huge dude in a way that the tail of the tape doesn't really tell. You're like, okay, 6 feet tall, 68-inch reach or whatever he has, weighs in at 186 pounds for his fights. That doesn't adequately convey just what a burly dude he is.
He's a Pacific Islander, bro. That's why he's one of the just a dense dude. Like
he is a dense dude.
Like,
I have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for him and actually Dan Ige both, because when I started at SureDog back in 2018, he and Ige both worked for Ali Abdelaziz, like not just clients as fighters, but actually worked for him. So when you're trying to get some information from Ali or trying to interview one of his fighters, they are the guys who would actually set up the interviews for you.
That's dope.
Yeah, and I actually interviewed Ige off of that. Like he was setting up an interview for me with some fighter that's less promising than him, and I'm like, dude, you fought 3 weeks ago. Can I just talk to you for 20 minutes? And I ended up interviewing him like 3 times in the first year I worked for SureDog. Both super good
business
guys.
with them.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's great.
Anyway, Soriano kind of presented at middleweight as a very kind of old school Hawaiian slugger, like much more of the just scrap Hawaiian brawler than Ige is. Like I think Ige's always been a lot niftier than he gets credit for. But I was like, yeah, you take that guy and shrink him down to 170. He's going to be at a speed disadvantage. I'm worried about his durability. No, he's been sharp. And I should have known this about a guy that trains at Extreme Couture and all those guys cross-train at the PI. He's done his change in weight class the right way. He's really retooled his body for his new weight class. And it's shown, like 3 different wins, like 2 by decision, one where he was beating up on a guy that really wanted to box him, another where he beat up a guy that really needed to clinch with him and or take him to the ground, handled them both just fine. And then against Uros Medic, whom we'll be talking about in a little while, a guy that's a good kickboxer and pretty speedy, especially 170. I mean, Puna blew him out of his sneakers in like 30 seconds. So both of these guys cautiously seem to be the real deal at 170. I'm going to lean with the slight upset here. Like I should be done underestimating both of these guys, but I'm definitely done underestimating Puna Soriano. Like as much as Brahimaj's striking has looked good over his last couple fights, I think if these guys hang out on the feet, it really does favor Soriano. He's going to have reach on him. He definitely has better power. If they hang out, I think on the feet too long, I could see Brahimaj getting hurt, maybe even knocked out. And conversely, Brahimaj needing to take Soriano down, I'm interested to see how that goes. Like Soriano's going to be a lot bigger. He's a better wrestler than it looked like at 185. He is now at 170. So give me Soriano to win a decision here in what, at least as of the time we're recording this, is a slight upset.
Yeah, I've always liked Puna. Like even just like beating Jamie Pickett on the Contender Series, like and like it doesn't mean anything, especially now. But he's just always just been like the slugging Hawaiian dude. I think he's definitely gone to 170, retooled his game. He's also pretty young. Like he's not old. He's 33, but he just seems like he's also gotten better. Like he's taken things a little more seriously. Probably part of that is it comes via a requirement. Like you can't just F around 15 pounds heavier. Like if you're going to be fighting at 170, you've got to cut the weight. You've got to stay in shape. And, that means him probably being in the gym more. I'm sure being a welterweight just requires him to be training more. And
it's a more skilled division. Like you've always had a really good take on the vibe different divisions have, but 170, generally speaking, the divisions all get more skilled as you go down, but the gap between 185 and 170 is huge.
It's like wearing a pair of running shoes versus a pair of clown shoes. Like it's just the difference between between those two divisions.
That's 205 to 170.
Dude, like
205 is the clown shoes division. Yeah.
Just honestly, it's getting to the point where everything above 205 and up is just like who the hell knows anymore. Ramiz Brahimaj is definitely made a lot of improvements as well. He was a dude, like you go look back at his fight with Max Griffin, where like it looks like somebody shot him in the freaking ear. Like his ear got blown off of his head. If you're listening to this and you're into gore, like just pause this and Google Ramiz Brahimaj's ear. It's like literal gore, like one of the gnarliest UFC injuries. He literally got his ear fucking punched off. It looked like somebody took a pair of pliers, grabbed his ear, and just ripped. Like it, just real gnarly shit. If he gets stuck on the feet with Puna, he's probably going to get hurt. He's not the most defensively sound dude. He I'm not going to say he has poor striking defense. He's definitely come along. Puna's had some concerns on the ground. Like if he gets tired, like in the Stoltzfus fight, if he gets tired and Brahimaj has still got some energy left, and this gets into the third round where Puna had a bunch of success in the first round, kind of blew his load, empty his gas tank, and then Brahimaj goes out there and out grapples him and just sits on him for a whole second round. Then we're going into the third round. You're like, ooh, this Puna pick, it's not sitting well. I'm gonna pick Puna in this fight though. I don't. This is a tough one because I don't want to overly credit the Uros Medic win. I think Uros Medic is good, but Uros Medic is a dude from 55 that's come up to 70, and every single Medic fight, he gets literally knocked out, and it's whether the ref stops it or not, and then he comes back and wins. But like, go look at his record. Like we'll talk about him later, but like he gets hurt really bad in every fight. His fight with Puna just killed him. He never had the chance to come back. Yeah. But I think Puna is just like the better pocket boxer with more power. The way the MMA fights are being scored, I think Puna, can match Brahimaj's volume on the feet, but just like be the harder hitter. So give me Puna to win a decision where he just like does better striking and lands more impactful punches. Maybe he gets out grappled around, but I think he's big enough, and he does come from a wrestling background in Hawaii who, I'm not going to say Hawaii is known for its wrestling, but like some decent wrestlers have come out of Hawaii. Like, that it's something he's grown up doing, and I think he can be safe enough there. But Brahimaj is an ace on the mat. Like he can do things. Yeah. Like, and if Puna gets tired or he gets like hurt by something, like Brahimaj will club and sub your ass. But give me Puna in the slight upset in a fight that should probably just be like a pick 'em, and anything could happen. Either dude could win this fight anyway.
Next up on the UFC Houston prelims is a women's bantamweight clash between Nora Cornolle and Joselyne Edwards. Cornolle, the 36-year-old French woman, is 9-3 overall. She is 3-2 in the UFC. She's coming in off a loss. She fought most recently at UFC on ESPN Tyra versus Park last August, where she lost a unanimous decision to Carl Hossa. So she'll be looking to bounce back from that against Edwards. 30-year-old Panamanian by way of Southern California is 16-6 overall, 7-4 in the UFC, and she's on a 3-fight win streak dating back well over a year. She fought most recently last August as well at UFC on ESPN Delize versus Hernandez, where she knocked out Priscilla Cachoeira in the first round. She's looking to extend her win streak to 4 straight, all by finish. She is a comfortable favorite. She's minus 325, Cornolle plus 250. I've buried the lead slightly here. These two have actually already fought. They fought back in September of 2023. Cornolle won by unanimous decision. It was a super close / controversial decision. I'm not going to call it a robbery. Any fight that competitive, just by definition, is not a robbery to me. But it's worth noting that Cornolle won the decision, but you go to MMA decisions, the media scores were 7-6 for Edwards. So super close fight. And in the 2.5 years in between then and now, these women's different arcs through the division have made it such that Edwards is now a greater than 3-1 favorite to get one back on her. And I get why. Cornolle is 36 years old. She came to MMA with a decent trophy case full of striking accolades. You know, she's a French national champion in kickboxing, and France is a very good kickboxing country. She world runner-up in Muay Thai, like a serious striker. Whereas Edwards, you know, comes from a striking background, but she was so young when she got to the UFC that she's been making strides. She's still not a perfect fighter, but she was Sherdog's Ms. Violence in our year-end awards last year. And that meant that she was actually able to stay upright long enough to do violent things to people. Because her problem early on is that she was a good striker with the full tool set, you know, good kicks, good punches, and some of the worst takedown defense in the entire UFC. If you look back at her early fights, her takedown defense was so bad. There's takedown defense where, you know, they're sprawling, they're trying to get underhooks, and just the other person either physically overwhelms them or is just a good chain wrestler and knows what to do. But Edwards was giving up takedowns where she wasn't even reacting. She was just getting tipped over, basically. It was like a women's bantamweight version of Rebellis to Spain, where it's like, do you even train this stuff in the gym? And it wasn't going to go on perpetually like that at a place like King's MMA. And she's still not a great defensive wrestler. Ironically, she's become a better offensive wrestler than defensive wrestler. Like, she's actually able to take women down when she wants to, but still not a great defensive wrestler, but she's gotten better at the part of takedown defense that consists of not being there. You know, she understands on some level that the first line of defense against a takedown is your feet, i.e. just not being there when the other person changes levels and comes in on your hips. When she's able to stay upright, good striker. Fast hands, not a ton of power on them, but she kind of piles up the damage, and very good kicks. You look at her and it's like the upper body of a flyweight on the lower body of a featherweight. It's not surprising that she's got some brutal kicks. And yeah, she's on a 3-fight win streak, and blowing out Priscilla Cachoeira, not too surprising. That was a terrible style matchup. Cachoeira was going to walk right at a bigger, harder hitting striker. But Chelsea Chandler and Tamires Vidal are both big women, probably heavier women than Edwards, who wanted to take her down, and she ended up finishing both of them. So this is a bad matchup for Cornolle. Cornolle's a good striker, but she's not performed in the cage like a former world contender in Muay Thai. I think if this fight stays on the feet the whole time, it actually favors Edwards, even though she doesn't have anywhere near the credentials. And Cornolle, conversely, has realized on some level that she's a bigger, stronger woman than a lot of the ones she faces, and she's become a little bit of a masher that way and a bit of a bully. If she does that to Edwards, she can make this into a dreadful fight where maybe she wins another iffy decision. But I think Edwards has made big strides since their first outing. I think this makes it to the final horn, but there's no question this time. It's like there's no group of 3 judges working a UFC event that's going to find a way to give this fight to Cornolle. Give me Edwards to bust up Cornolle bad for 3 rounds.
It's funny that the odds have just flipped so much since their first fight, because their first fight was like really not that long ago, you know.
Yeah, it's 2 years ago. It's
ago.
Not that long. Yeah.
And Cornolle may be tough enough to just like push Joselyne Edwards up against the cage and just like make this like a slimy, gross fight. But Edwards has shown like her boxing has just like seemingly gotten better. Her power is good. She's like a good, accurate puncher, like the way she just iced Priscilla Cachoeira. Cachoeira's bad. So is Chelsea Chandler and Tamaris Vidal, but this is women's bantamweight.
Yeah.
You know, but like Nora Cornolle is also kind of bad. Like, you know, I just think Joselyne Edwards has made the more improvements. She could also absolutely blow weight. You know, I'm gonna pick Joselyne Edwards because I just think she's the craftier pocket puncher. Nora Cornolle could make this like a stinker. I hope that's not the case. That's on the table, but give me Joselyne Edwards to win a decision where she just lands the better shots anytime they, you know, get into punching range. Joselyne Edwards is going to want this fight to remain like in that boxing range because I think she's the better boxer. If they're just stuck kickboxing, it's a lot closer. But give me Edwards again to just be the craftier pocket puncher. I'd love to see her do what she did to Cachoeira or Chandler. That'd be really cool. Especially her Priscilla Cachoeira finish. Like that was violent shit.
Yes.
Like that's like her highlight. That's her, you know, that's the best thing she's done in the UFC, in my opinion. And that was her last time out. So hopefully, you know, she's on a 3-fight win streak, all finishes, 2 KOs, 1 face crank. That Tamaris Vidal face crank was pretty dope too. Yeah, hopefully she just remains violent in a division that is like yearning for violence. This division needs it more than any. So give me Joselyne Edwards to win a decision.
Men's bantamweights take the cage next as Alden Coria faces off against Luis Gurule. Coria, the 27-year-old Houstonian, is 11-3 with 1 no contest overall. He is 1-0 since joining the UFC as the briefly former Fury FC flyweight champ. We'll talk about that in a minute. He made his UFC debut at Noche UFC last year, knocking out Alessandro Costa in the 3rd round. He will look to make it 2 in a row to start off his UFC run against Gurule. The 32-year-old Factory X product is 10-2 overall. That is the good news. The bad news is that the 2 losses have come in his very last 2 fights since joining the UFC, out of Fury Fighting Championship as well, and out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his debut last April, was doing pretty well until he got caught and knocked out in the 2nd round by Ode Osbourne, then came back also at Noche UFC and dropped a unanimous decision to Jesus Santos Aguilar. Coria, unsurprisingly, a pretty comfortable favorite here. He's minus 275, Gurule plus 225. Alden Coria, I mentioned this earlier on the show, but like this is some bullshit. A little over a year ago, last January, he won the Fury flyweight title, knocking the shit out of Paris Moran, who is a very good fighter down here, a guy I would have expected actually to be in the UFC by now. It was a great win, best win of Coria's career, got overturned for cannabis. Like, at this point, cannabis is decriminalized in personal use amounts in Texas, and it is it is in no way a performance enhancing substance. Like, it's just beyond stupid that that Coria got the best win of his career taken away for weed. Hopefully, shining a little light on that stupidity of regulation will bring some change here, because Anthony Hernandez, our headliner, has been talking about Texas's testing coming into this card. Hopefully that doesn't come up and bite him. But you know what? Here's hoping it changes regulation down here. At any rate, Alden Coria is a 4-ounce Fight Club guy, and 4-ounce Fight Club is Houston's OG gym. Like, 2 or 3 of the other biggest gyms in town started off as breakoffs from 4-ounce Fight Club, like War Training Center that has Zach Reese, who we'll be talking about in a little while, Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai, which is Derek Lewis's gym. All those, their coaches broke off from 4-ounce Fight Club. 4-ounce Fight Club is now run by Daniel Pineda, and Alden Coria is, you can tell he's a Daniel Pineda disciple. He boxes a bit like Pineda. He's not on Pineda's level as a grappler. Like, you look at Coria's record, he has 5 knockout wins, 4 submissions, but his submissions have tended to be opportunistic stuff on people that he's hurt on the feet. It's not like Pineda, where Pineda was just a venomous grappler from any position, could tap people out from his back, could,
None of those dudes are as good as Pineda, and that, like, none of those 4-ounce dudes. Like, he's always the best, like, submission, like, just venomous submission hunting dude. Even like out of, like, Josh Van, Adrian Yanez, like those, like, Pineda is definitely the best submission dude. Sorry,
that's absolutely the case. But when you look at Coria working with his hands on the feet, it's
he's good.
He is good.
He's good.
And flew under the radar a little bit because, again, there was a point in his career where he was like 7-3 or something. And there are a lot of 7-3 men and women duking it out in local MMA scenes everywhere. They are not created equal, not by a long shot. Coria has always been a very talented fighter who, he's had a couple close decisions. He's run into, the wrong guy at the wrong time, but he's a legit dude, and rare power for that division. The kind of power that comes, again, from proper mechanics. Just he's always, sitting down on his punches, throws good straight shots. Gurule is better than his UFC record, looks like. He's 0-2 in the UFC after arriving as an undefeated prospect, but he was whooping up on Ode Osbourne and then got caught. And Ode Osbourne is an extremely dangerous fighter who usually finds ways to lose fights he should win. There he found a way to win a fight he was losing. And then Gurule was competitive in his fight against Jesus Santos Aguilar. Like, he doesn't need me to make excuses for his losses, but he's not looked out of his depth in the UFC. He's 0-2, but he absolutely looks like he belongs. Having said that, this is rough because he's running into a guy. I think Coria is the best fighter of the ones that Gurule has fought in the UFC so far. Like, Gurule could go out, put on another solid performance, and just get outgunned. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Gurule is not a terribly big guy for the division, and he kind of fights small. Like, he doesn't have the longest wingspan, and I think he's going to have trouble in the pocket with Coria. Like, Gurule's, his best wins and like his best looks have been kind of him boxing people up in the pocket, using his feet, using his head movement to kind of navigate the pocket against some people that are longer than him. Like, he was doing it very successfully against Osbourne, who's one of the longest guys in that division, until he got caught. Here, I think it's going to be more of the same. He might look good for a while, but Coria's faster hands, harder hitter, probably better mechanics in the pocket, and I think he's a little bit of a bigger guy too. It's just a terrible style matchup for Gurule. Give me Coria by second round knockout here.
This is a really good fight.
Oh yeah,
Coria looked really good his last time out. Like, Gurule's biggest problem is, Alessandro Costa is also a lot better than him too, probably. Like Alessandro Costa, Coria took that fight on short notice, didn't he? And like,
You're right. Thank you.
like really pieced up Costa. Like the first round was like semi close, but like the second he started, this dude is a main training partner of Joshua Van. And when you watch him fight, you're like, oh, that makes sense. 100%.
Yep.
I'm sure they're getting like a lot of boxing coaching. Is Adrian Yanez still like coaching at 4 ounce?
No. Adrian Yanez basically, when Saul Solis died, he basically took over Metro Fight Club. And for a while, it was rough because he was trying to run one of the biggest gyms in Houston while he himself is like a 27-year-old prospect who needed a coach himself. But at this point, a lot of those guys are splitting their time with Eve Edwards, which is just a match made in heaven.
Perfect.
So Metro Fight Club spends a lot of time with Eve. And yeah.
But Coria is just a really intelligent, again, like another intelligent dude that's just like good in the pocket. He has a good check hook. He's got a good jab. He's really good at pull countering. I think he's probably going to knock out Gurule here in the second round. Gurule is a tenacious dude that will like be on the front foot. He was doing well against Ode Osbourne. That's Ode Osbourne too. Like that's just his game to like either just get shellacked or do something brilliant like out of nowhere. Coria is just like he's got a really good game, especially for this division where like he's got decent grappling. He's not going to really go to his wrestling. He's more of a club and sub guy, like you said, but his pocket boxing, like he's got good power, good accuracy, good volume. He could do stuff in this division. He's 27 years old. He's 5'8". Like I'm curious to see if he can continue to make this weight. But I think he's going to win by second round knockout. So give me Coria to go out there and do stuff. And this fight's at 125, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Costa one, I know Costa's a flyweight, but I think that one was like short notice. I think they did that at bantamweight, if I'm correct. But yeah, give me Coria. Like he's just, his boxing is just too damn slick. He's good. Honestly, like one of my favorite fighters on this whole card. Like I loved his game last time out. So cool.
Men's flyweights take the cage next at UFC Houston as Ode Osbourne faces off against Alibi Idiris. Osbourne, the 34-year-old Wisconsinite, is 13-9 with 1 no contest overall. He's 5-7 since joining the UFC out of season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series. And at this point, he has lost 4 of his last 5. And as we kind of alluded to in talking about Luis Gurule a few minutes ago, came dangerously close to losing 5 in a row, in which case we probably wouldn't be talking about him right now. At any rate, he'll be looking to turn things around against Idiris. 31-year-old from Kazakhstan is 10-1 overall. That's the good news. The bad news is that the one loss came in his most recent outing. That was at UFC 319 last August, where he got triangled in the second round by Joseph Morales. So looking to bounce back from his first professional defeat. This one's pretty close, so I'll quiz you on it. Dev, your favorite is minus 130, underdog plus 110. Who are they?
I'm surprised this is kind of close. I'm going to say Idiris is the favorite.
You're correct. Alibi Idiris minus 130, Ode Osbourne plus 110. Osbourne is, to me, one of the bigger kind of head scratcher underachievers in the UFC. On raw skills, he at least has easy top 10 skills and physical tools at honestly 125 or 135. Like he's a decent sized guy at 135. He's big at 125. Like big guy, long wingspan, kind of, yeah, and blistering fast. Like he's got kind of kind of the John Jones body where he's got really long legs, which makes it so he carries more kind of muscle on his upper body than you would think of a guy that tall fighting in that division. But on top of being a big dude for the division, blistering fast hands, fast kicks, tons of power. He is a good grappler. He's a good offensive wrestler. He can be a dazzling striker, and yet he's 5-7 in the UFC. And ultimately, I mean, there are a couple reasons for that. He kind of checks all the boxes of mental mistakes. Like you can catch him kind of taking too much time off in a round and losing a close round where just he needed to throw a couple more strikes. We've seen that. We've seen him get blown up in fights he was winning because he just loses defensive focus for a few moments. And ultimately, it feels as though whatever his opponent does well, they're at least going to get a chance to make it work on Ode Osbourne. That's the best way to put it. Like, if you're a good grappler, you're probably going to get at least one chance to take Ode Osbourne's back or sink in a real deep guillotine in transition or something, and you're going to get to shoot your shot. If you are a knockout striker, you're going to have a couple of moments during the fight where his chin is just way out over his feet, wide open, like a bad guy from Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And if you're quick enough on the trigger, you're going to knock him out. Like, that's as easily as I can put it. I think Idiris Alibi, of the two kinds of undefeated prospect that make it to the UFC, there are ones that are just, legit future contenders and ones who might be pretty good fighters, but just haven't run into the right guy yet. I think Idiris, Alibi Idiris is closer to the second type. I could see him sticking around the UFC for a while, but I don't see contender upside in him. Honestly, he fights a little bit like his countryman, like the dude with the two wives and the terrible bowl cut. Why am I spacing on his name?
Zhalgas Zhumagulov.
Thank you. Like, how can I forget Zhalgas Zhumagulov? Like, we're
same division too.
Yeah. Like,
he wants back, and he's been winning fights. He's actually streaking. He's doing things.
Yeah. And Adibi Aliris, kind of like Zhalgas Zhumagulov, had an aggressive wrestle boxer game that worked like a charm on the regional level and just doesn't have quite the size, quite the athleticism, quite the wrestling technique to make it work against UFC level fighters. Having said that, he's going to have, like I said, he's going to have a chance to make it work against Ode Osbourne. This feels like a pretty close fight, and I'm just not taking Osbourne in a close fight. Like, him catching Luis Gurule and blowing him up in a fight that he had basically lost the first 7 minutes pretty solidly, that's more of an outlier. Usually Ode Osbourne fights go the other way. Give me Idiris Alibi to win a decision here. I think he's going to be able to do his thing to Osbourne, where even though Osbourne is way taller, way longer, way quicker, Idiris Alibi is just going to march forward, swinging hooks, put Osbourne on the back foot, make him look and feel uncomfortable the whole time. I bet you'll see something like Osbourne just stings Idiris really hard with 2 leg kicks in the first 45 seconds of the fight and then throws one more the entire fight. It's going to be one of those. Give me Osbourne to lose 2 rounds out of 3 in a frustrating fight.
This fight could just... Ode Osbourne is such an interesting / funny dude. Like, he, like you said, he's huge for the division. He can be a bolt of lightning. But at the same time, like, some fights you just see him like get out wrestled and grappled against a dude that he has just so much of a physical athletic edge against.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're like, how is this happening? Like, bro, just get a butterfly hook and just like shoot this person off of you. Like, you're huge and you're an incredible athlete. I don't know if it's just like a fight IQ thing. He also will just he's just like the Michael Johnson of men's flyweight, where, he's also known to just get absolutely cold clocked by something and then just absolutely knocked dead.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Alibi is the dude that's going to do that. Alibi too, like he's only got one loss on his record. You know, he looked really well in the Ultimate Fighter. He was kind of like the highly touted dude.
Hmm.
There's actually some decent flyweights that came off that. There was a guy on DC's team, is a Mexican kid. He didn't win, but he's really young and really good. I cannot recall his name. But I think he's now in the UFC, so he should be doing some things. But like Joseph Morales is a UFC veteran and came back. Like Joseph Morales is actually good.
Yeah.
So I don't really hold that loss over Alibi's head. I'm gonna pick Alibi here because he should wrestle in this fight. He should want to wrestle. And Ode Osbourne has very poor takedown defense.
Yeah.
Now, if Ode Osbourne survives the first and second round and is not dead tired, we saw Alibi kind of like get into that headspace in a fight where he's like, uh-oh, my game's not working. Like that's kind of what seemed to happen to him. He was 10-0, fought Joseph Morales, and like right away you could see like when the adversity kind of stacked against him, he was like, oh shit, I'm not used to this. That could happen, but I think he's just gonna go out and grapple. So give me Alibi to win a 3-round decision here where, you know, he just sits on Ode for like 2 of the rounds. Ode is primed to be out grappled and stuck in his back at any moment.
Next up on the UFC Houston prelims is a welterweight clash between Chidi Njokuani and Carlos Leal. Njokuani, the 37-year-old Nigerian-American, longtime Las Vegas resident, is 25-11 with 1 no contest overall. He is 5-4 in the UFC since joining out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He is 3-1 since dropping from middleweight. That's the good news. The bad news is that he has failed to actually make the welterweight limit in 2 of those 4 bouts. So you take your wins and losses together, I guess. But he did lose his last time out. It was against Jake Matthews last July at UFC on ESPN, Lewis versus Teixeira, and Matthews choked him out in like a minute. So prior to that, he had been on a 3-fight win streak, again, below middleweight. Goals for Njokuani would include making weight and getting back in the win column. In order to do the second of those, he's going to have to get past Leal. 31-year-old Brazilian is 22-7 overall. He's 1-2 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss as well. He got knocked out in just 42 seconds by Muslim Salikov at UFC on ABC Whitaker versus DeRitter last July. The line is pretty close on this one. As of right now, there's been some interesting line movement around the beginning of fight week. We'll see if this fight stays on the card. Knock on wood. At any rate, I'll quiz you on it. The favorite, Dev, is -130, underdog +110. Who are they? Or who were they 2 hours ago when when I checked?
Carlos Leal is the favorite.
You are correct. Carlos Leal -130, Chidi Njokuani +110.
What was it before all the funky stuff, though? I saw a video online and I was like, this, whatever. And I just scrolled past it really quickly. But apparently there was some suspicious line movement on the Leal side of things.
Yeah, he was a bigger favorite than this. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, Carlos Leal was like a 3-1 favorite. Now it's close to a pick 'em on some books. It may be nothing. It may be, again, malfeasance like we've had in the UFC a couple times in the last couple years, as recently as last November. It may just be people deciding that all the cigarette smoking is going to catch up with Carlos Leal finally, and he's going to be TKO emphysema. I'm not sure what the case is, but it's cool that Chidi Njokuani made it to the UFC, period. I figured he never would. That, he's just going to become just another guy that had a fun regional career and made some noise in Bellator, and just, we never got to see him in the UFC. Instead, not only has he made it to the UFC, but he's been pretty damn good and pretty consistently entertaining. I would not have been in favor of him moving down from 185 to 170 pounds because one, he's in his late 30s. Two, he's a giant dude. But aside from the fact that he's not actually able to make the weight every time, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
If nothing else, Chidi Njokuani is an extremely seasoned kickboxer. Again, he's going on 40 professional MMA fights, and he has more fights than that in kickboxing and Muay Thai. And he's smart enough to realize that at 170, he has reach over just about everybody, and a lot of people are going to have a speed advantage on him, and he is able to fight accordingly. He has good footwork. He has a good jab. He uncorks some nice long kicks. Being a 6'3" welterweight who can probably just step over the side of the cage like it's ring ropes, takedown defense is always going to be a problem, but he's actually a very good grappler. Like taking him, he's not the kind of kickboxer that taking him down is just an instant route to winning the fight. Like he's not content to just park on his back. He's active. He's moving around. He's threatening with stuff from his back, not because he's actually trying to triangle you, but just because he's trying to get you to react and move so he can get back to his feet and get back to, mauling you with his better tools. Leal, honestly, his showings in the UFC have not completely lived up to the hype. Like, okay, he has monstrous power. He's one of the harder hitters in the 170-pound division. He's got some elephant gun knuckles going for sure, but he is not Alex Pereira or Israel Adesanya. Like in the cage, he presents as more like a welterweight Volkan Oezdemir, like a compact guy for the division who hits like a ton of bricks, but throws just kind of a basic repertoire of combinations and has some defensive lapses on the feet. Like Leal's the slight favorite here, and I'm going to ignore entirely all the weird line movement. All I'm hoping for out of that is that we don't get some shit that happens that makes this fight not happen at all. But just even leaving that aside, I think this is exactly the kind of fight where Njokuani can win a fun fight that's exciting and kind of tense, edge of your seat, but never really boils over. Give me Njokuani in the slight upset by decision here. Just, I think he kind of stays on his bike a little bit, that most of the fight takes place at his preferred range rather than Leal's. He's going to probably use his kicks. I don't think he's going to be terribly afraid of getting taken down by Leal. And yeah, if Leal wins, it's going to be more exciting because he's going to flip something, get into the pocket, catch Njokuani with an overhand and knock him senseless. But I think instead we get Njokuani maybe winning all 3 rounds, but 3 competitive rounds where, again, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time because it feels like someone could get knocked out at any moment. It just never quite happens.
Carlos Leal is like, if you told me that the pimples on his back popped as he flexed, I would totally believe you. Like, have you seen those pictures of him just like on the scale, like he looks like a fucking monster. His last time out, the way he got counterpunched, like just trying to mob on Muslim Salikov and just got hit with that beautiful inside counter that like just fucking plunked him.
Yep.
That was a beautiful, that was gonna, like, that is one of Muslim Salikov's many highlights. And that's probably his last one in the UFC. Chidi is a dude that is, I think where he may struggle is with Carlos Leal's speed and aggressiveness. Like Chidi is not this dynamic back foot counterpuncher. He's much more of a Muay Thai guy where he will like do work in the clinch. He's got good knees. He's got good elbows. He's got a good tie. He's got a good tie plum. He'll move his opponents around with that. But he's not this like super sharp back foot counterpuncher that is this, bolt of lightning athlete. Even
No.
Salikov at 40 has got like better and faster hand speed than Chidi. The Reese McKee fight worries me because like Reese McKee is bad and like had a ton of success just like getting in there and like having an ugly fight with Chidi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Carlos Leal, I don't know what happened to the dude. Like he was touted.
Yeah.
Like when he came from like the PFL, like he was touted, like he was icing dudes. Um, then he lost to Hinat Fakardinov, and then the Salikov fight. Somewhat recently, he got knocked out.
Well, I mean, can I throw something in here? Like he lost both of his losses in PFL were, I think they were both in the finals, but they were both to Sadabusi, and Sadabusi is a tall, lanky kickboxer who's not a fast twitch monster, but is just kind of fundamentally sound, good at slowing down fights to his preferred speed. And am I talking about Chidi and Njokuani now?
Literally, like, I you could convince me that Sadi Busi is an even more neutered version of Chidi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Sadi Busi is unviolent. He's done violent things, but like, generally unviolent to a fault. And Chidi can do violent shit. Like I could totally see Carlos Leal just like welcoming the clinch and then just getting wrecked with like knee to the bread basket, brings a knee up to the head, and then Chidi just frames and like smashes him with an elbow. Like I could totally see that happening. Chidi is really good in the clinch, and that's something that's like slept on. He's also taller, which favors him. So give me Chidi again too in the slight upset. I think this, Carlos Leal could go out there and just uncork a fucking bomb. He is huge, and he goes for it to a fault, clearly, based on his last time out. But he will go for it. If he doesn't go for it, then he's a broken fighter. And he's not there yet. He only got knocked out once, really. And he did arguably beat Renat Fakardinov. Like, I think everybody scored that fight for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of like a low key, a lot of people are calling that a robbery at that time.
Yeah.
So Leal can do good things, but he just got knocked out. I don't know. Give me Chidi in the upset, but maybe I'm just picking Chidi because you are, and I don't want to argue with you yet.
You're welcome to argue with me. You got it by decision?
Yeah, give me Chidi by decision.
The 6-fight main card of UFC Fight Night 267 begins with a middleweight matchup between Zach Reese and Michel Pereira. Reese, the 31-year-old from Shiner, Texas, is 10-2 with 1 no contest overall. He is 4-2 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He won his last time out. It was at UFC Fight Night Bonfim versus Brown in November, where he stepped up last minute and took a 195-pound catchweight matchup against Jackson McVeigh. But they're both guys that are going to be middleweights in the UFC, so it felt like a middleweight fight. At any rate, he choked him out in the second round, looking for his second win in a row here against Pereira. 32-year-old Brazilian is 31-14 with 2 no contests overall. He is 9-5 in the UFC. He is 3-3 since moving up to middleweight. He started out in the UFC as a ridiculously huge and muscular 170-pounder, moved up to 185 pounds, and as I said, is 3-3 since then. That's the good news. The bad news is that, like an inning of baseball, his middleweight run has been 3 up, 3 down. He is on the first 3-fight losing streak of his career, including his most recent outing, which was last August at UFC Fight Night Walker versus Zhang, where Kyle Dawkins knocked him out in just 43 seconds. So the Demolidor almost certainly fighting for his job here. This is a pretty close one on the books, so I'm going to quiz you on this one. The favorite is -150, underdog plus 125. Who are they, Dev?
Michel Pereira is still the favorite.
You are correct. Michel Pereira -150, Zach Reese plus 125. Michel Pereira is, he's on a 3-fight losing streak at this point. Got absolutely dusted the last time we saw him, but nonetheless, his UFC run overall and even his middleweight run have both been pleasant surprises for me. Like, he came to the UFC basically as middleweight Johnny Walker, just this guy who was huge for the division, a off the charts athlete, and just allergic to anything even remotely resembling a game plan. Like
the Tristan Connolly fight, dude. That's tomfoolery.
He lost to Tristan Connolly by gassing out horribly and losing to a sub UFC fighter who's really a lightweight, and then literally just crazied himself out of a win against Diego Sanchez. He was wrecking Sanchez and then crushed him with an illegal knee, like late in the third round. Michel
he also
Pereira
backflipped on Nico Price's head.
And that guy turned into somebody who, one, became capable of winning just a straightforward kickboxing match without any Showtime kicks or foolishness like he did against Chaos Williams, and realized that, oh, with my kind of athleticism, I can wrestle too. Yeah. And his wrestling has been as explosive as his striking. He's not the low single leg guy. He's the take your back standing and launch you with a suplex guy. He's come up against a point of diminishing returns in his last 3 fights, but you know what? His last 3 losses, one was against Anthony Hernandez, who is headlining this card, and it was when Pereira came in on like an 8-fight win streak. You know, if you remember that fight, Pereira had won 8 in a row, Hernandez like 5 or 6 in a row. But yeah, he made it into the 5th round, taking an absolute ass kicking from Hernandez, but it's not like that loss has aged poorly. Then he lost to Abus Magomedov, where it was a competitive fight. Magomedov is a good, fundamentally sound fighter who managed to turn it into an Abus Magomedov fight. And then he got wrecked by Kyle Daukaus. And one, Daukaus has seemed to be a different guy since he's been back in the UFC. And two, we need to wonder now whether that's Pereira's chin starting to go. Because durability used to not be a problem for him. His gas tank was, but not his chin. But he took so much punishment from Anthony Hernandez that now you do have to wonder, okay, the first time Zachary touches his chin, is he going to be on skates? Is he going to be on the ground?
Have you seen the hard sparring videos of him and Johnny Walker as of like this past week?
No, but if I see it, I'm sure I'll lose IQ points.
Dude, it's gnarly.
I'm sure.
Like they're in a fight. Like it's bad.
All else being equal, if the Daukaus fight was an aberration and Pereira is at least the guy that lost to Hernandez and Magomedov, he should be comfortably favored against Reese. Like Reese is a solid raw talent who hasn't really truly put it all together. Like, I thought that on the top end, he might top out at kind of like a Joe Pyfer type, like a knockout artist with just a big, strong dude with good wrestling who can use it either in reverse to keep things on the feet or as a safety valve if he's not liking what he's getting on the feet. That really hasn't materialized yet. I think the tools are still there, but you know, at this point, he's actually a little old to only have 12 career fights and be at this kind of stage of his development. If he's the same guy we've seen in his last few fights, I think Pereira can take him down. Like Reese's takedown defense has been suspect. And while Pereira certainly could give us an exciting striking battle and win that battle, I feel as though Reese could take Pereira down and Pereira could take Reese down, but do I trust Pereira to make the right strategic decision? I actually kind of do. Tempting as it is to take the slight upset here, to take Reese just as the younger guy, the guy with less tread off the tires, the guy that, you know, again, trains locally to me. I like him. I like his coach. I'm betting that Pereira's chin is at least not as bad as Dawkins made it look. And Pereira understands that, okay, even if you don't want to go out and immediately shoot takedowns, remember that you've got them if you run into trouble against this, bigger, rangier guy. Give me Pereira to win rounds 1 and 2 and maybe have to hold on in round 3 as he gasses out. But to pick up the well-earned decision here.
Yes. The problem with Zachary Reese is it's like we've just been having the same conversation about him since his Contender Series fight, and he's just never done anything to change us from having the same prospect conversation where it's like, okay, but is he just a prospect forever? Because then you're not a prospect. Like at what point are we like, okay, this is just Zachary Reese. Like he's
this is just who you are. Yeah.
Like this is just he's here for fun fights. His last time out against Jackson McVeigh took that fight on short notice. Zachary Reese was like teed up to like tune this dude up on the feet, but he was actually kind of getting shit kicked on the feet real bad and then had to like go to his grappling, which is just not a good look. He went to decision with Dusko Todorovic.
Yeah.
Like, he lost to Bekoev. Bekoev is okay. He went to a decision against Jose Medina, who's a dude that's just way too tough for his own good, but it like
one of the least skilled guys in that division in the last few years in the UFC.
I know this sounds stupid because like Jose Medina is like a UFC fighter, but like, dude, if like you or I were to just like show up at any gym that he's at and just like do like some boxing rounds with him, like we could have he'd win, but like we could he's really bad, dude. Like what I'm saying is it's just like I'm absolutely fucking nobody sitting here in the loft of my home talking to you about this. Like that's how bad Jose Medina is. What scares me is Jose Medina was a veterinarian, and if he left being a veterinarian to fight and he's that bad of a fighter, boy oh boy, I feel bad for those animals. Because like how like if you're better, like if you want to go do the thing you're better at, like holy shit.
In news today, llamas went extinct in Bolivia when an incompetent veterinarian killed the
he only does euthanizations. Like, is that all he does?
The Dr. Death of veterinarians. That's amazing.
Fucking crypt keeper. Yeah. I'm talking shit. Like Jose Medina would whip our asses, but like he's really bad. Michel Pereira, if he loses this fight, like he should never lose a fight like this. If he loses this fight against Zachary Reese, like he should just not be like he should hang him up because his ceiling was like much higher than what Zachary Reese is probably going to ever achieve. Michel Pereira's got more losses than Zach Reese has fights.
Yep.
Period. Pereira did have some hard sparring footage that got released of him versus Johnny Walker, and like Johnny Walker was like just going crazy, and he was like landing and like looking technical, like he looked like his boxing was still there. If Jackson McVeigh is gonna go and have like put on like a Muay Thai clinic against Zachary Reese, I don't see why Michel Pereira can't. Dalkhouse is much more of like an OG, like Northeastern, cut your teeth on like a hard, grimy regional scene and like, forced to get better at fighting. I don't know. Yeah. Fluffy is fluffy. Like Fluffy's going to always do that to someone like Michel Pereira.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like it could have been worse.
Oh yeah.
Like it could have looked like the Delize fight with Fluffy. Give me Michel Pereira to just. I still think Michel Pereira, and you mentioned him being able to out-grapple him. I totally think he could do that too. Like I just think he's a better fighter. Mm-hmm. Like I don't, Zachary Reese has fun fights.
Yeah.
but I don't think he's good. And at one point, like Michel Pineda was like good.
Yeah.
So even if like 70% of him is left, like he should just cleanly win this fight. We could also look really dumb because he could be an absolutely broken man and Zachary Reese could go out there and just kick his head off.
Which, hey, then we will have learned something.
Yep.
The UFC Fight Night 267 main card soldiers on with a pair of undefeated welterweights in Jacobe Smith and Josiah Harrell. Smith, the 30-year-old Oklahoma native, a perfect 11-0 as a professional, 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Fury Fighting Championship and Season 8 of the Contender Series. He fought most recently last June at UFC 317, where he choked out Nico Price in the second round. He'll be looking to make it 3 in a row, go 12-0 as a pro against Harrell, the 27-year-old Columbus, Ohio native, is also 11-0. This will be his UFC debut, but he was actually supposed to join the UFC all the way back in 2023. He was supposed to debut at UFC 290. I forget who against, but his pre-fight medicals revealed like a medical condition with his brain. It was surgically repaired. He was out for all of 2024, out of action with the surgery and recuperation. But since then, he's been back just cutting a swath through the Midwest. 3 straight wins in Ohio, then a win at LFA about a month ago today. He steps in for Siakon Ko, who fell off the card on the 13th. A day or two later, Harrell got the call, steps in here on short notice. Perhaps unsurprisingly, given Smith's hype and the short notice, despite the fact that these men are both undefeated, Smith is a greater than 3-1 favorite to stay undefeated. He is minus 350, Harrell plus 280 coming back. What's your take on these guys? And how do you think the fight goes?
We're coming off of a guy that Zachary Reese's nickname is Savage. And now we're moving on to a guy, his nickname is the Muscle Hamster.
Pretty fitting. He's a little guy with big muscles.
I don't like people that have brain issues fighting, just as a general statement.
Sure. It's uncomfortable.
Like Andrei Arlovsky, like kind of secretly, but not so secretly, like had cancer several times and like went on to like F up Ben Rothwell and be a BKFC champ. But I'm not a doctor, but I feel like medically, I feel like a little bit better about that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
This is brain cancer, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
where, like, what kind of issue didn't he have like an aneurysm? Like,
I thought it was something like that. I don't want to go too far down that road, but I thought the pre-fight scans revealed like an aneurysm, which is basically a blood vessel that is threatening to burst, but can be surgically repaired. Yeah.
Which could turn into a brain bleed if it bursts, and like you could die. Like it's bad. So when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, oh my God, and good thing he got caught with the medicals last time around, because like it like literally life threatening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's fought 4 times since then. 3 of the fights made it past the midpoint of the fight. So he's gotten his reps in. He's been hit a few times. To watch this sport and or to cover it is to make peace with the fact that you're dealing with people, risking their lives for your entertainment. Like it can sometimes sound like over dramatic to say that, but people have died as a direct result of fight injuries. It's only by sheer luck that it's never happened in the UFC.
And it's happened in MMA, just not in the UFC.
It's happened in MMA to former UFC fighters. Like, Tim Hague, you can't blame it on MMA, considering he went and like got knocked out 10 straight times in boxing afterwards, but he's a multiple time former UFC fighter that, died as a result of fighting injuries. So yeah,
Vincente Luque, blah, blah, blah. Jacobe Smith is just a very highly touted prospect. You know, he's now we have him listed as a Fortis fighter, but I think he's now training over with DC. Like, I think he's one of DC's disciples. If not, he's definitely doing some cross training, spending a lot of time with Daniel Cormier. I think spending any time with Daniel Cormier, if you're an MMA fighter, is probably just a really good idea.
Especially if you're a former wrestler looking to turn that into an overall skill set. Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, DC has not only like he's an Olympian, a current wrestling coach, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. But not to mention, he also has a very good connection, like being able to go rub shoulders with like all the Dagestani dudes at AKA, like it's just another highly beneficial thing for someone with a game like his. His last time out against Nico Price was like kind of weird because like he did not look awesome in the first round of that fight. And I'm like, wait a second, and like Nico Price has went on to, shout out. I mean, he's the definition of Florida man. Shout out to Nico Price. We all love him, but like he's gone on to be effing terrible. And Preston Parsons, like he went out there and shit kicked him. Josiah Harrell, he's got decent striking, good grappler. He's very small for this division. We've got a lot of fighters on this card where like he's kind of small for this division, but like he's like 5'7" at welterweight. Jacobe is not the tallest dude, but like he's just a big athletic wrestler. He should just go out there and dominate with his grappling. Don't F around and try to do anything on the feet. Like just go out there and be the high level wrestler you are. I think he's going to go out there and just completely out wrestle Harrell. Give me Jacobe to win in the second round via ground and pound.
Yeah. I like the breakdown there. I should mention that even though Dev just picked Harrell to lose pretty badly, and I'm about to do the same, it is cool to have him here. He is a protege of UFC veteran Matt Brown, who was inducted into Sherdog's Hall of Fucking Awesome today, the day we recorded this, Sunday, February 15th. So congratulations to Matt Brown, Columbus, Ohio's own. But yeah, this is going to be a bad matchup.
We love Matt Brown.
Harrell. Yeah. Harrell will be fun for however long he sticks around. And there are people in that division he can beat. And that's saying something because it's one of the 2 or 3 best divisions in the whole UFC. But the problems it's going to be obvious at the weigh-ins and face-offs because Kobe Smith is just kind of an average-sized welterweight by UFC standards, and he's going to tower over Harrell. Harrell is built a lot like Michael Chandler, who was a short, stocky lightweight. Yeah, like it's not quite Sean Shirk level, but I think of him as being built about like Michael Chandler, and Chandler was short and stocky for lightweight. Yeah. And I'm not saying Harrell is like welterweight Chandler. No, he's like Chandler. Kind of like Chandler, he's gotten by on he's a very good athlete. Like he's an explosive guy. Obviously, he's strong as an ox. He still has yet to lose a fight, and he has a ton of finishes, but he's a good grappler when he is being the hammer, when he's being the bully. Like if he's the better wrestler than the other guy, so the fight's only going to the ground when and where he wants it or because he knocked the other guy down, he has frightening ground and pound and good back takes, good submissions. Against Kobe Smith, he's not going to be the better wrestler. Like Smith was a good college wrestler, like never quite the All-American level, but that doesn't matter. He has the kind of wrestling that is translating well to MMA.
His Contender Series performance, dude. Sorry to cut you off, but like, Smith's Contender Series performance, like, he went out there and just like did Khabib shit.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like where the superiority of his wrestling and control was just so obvious, both in his physicality and in his technique. It was, yeah, it was just a complete ragdolling. Just the mix of kind of hard, high amplitude takedowns, like takedowns that hurt and cause damage, don't just change the location of the fight. Then the control, the relentless advancing position, and the finish. It was just a comprehensive performance. And Smith's got that in his back pocket. Like, he's not, I find it hard to picture Kobe Smith getting strikeritis. You know,
You better not. It's
and you know what? It might not cost him in this fight, but you know, if at some point in the future he's going to run into people where it's going to be a good thing that he knows what side his bread is buttered on and is perfectly happy to take people down and wreck them there, where the risk to him is lower. Like I say, there are people in the UFC that Harrell can beat. It's cool that he made it here. It's cool that his health problems appear to be in the past, but this is a bad matchup. I think Smith probably takes Harrell down, kind of hammers him with ground and pound, takes his back and chokes him out. Give me Smith by first round submission.
Yeah, and this is a short notice fight. Like, this is just a way for Harrell to kind of like get his foot in the door in the UFC. And there are plenty of dudes like, you know, we just saw, speaking of Nigo Price, like we just saw Veretennikov like absolutely just mug him against the cage. But like dude, telling me that Harrell can't go out there and just like take down a dude like Veretennikov a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Oh yeah.
You tell me he took down Phil Rowe 15 times in a fight. Like, yeah, that tracks, you know. So he can do things, especially if he, you know, thinks about, you know, taking it real to another level and like maybe going down to 55, you know.
That might be where his best future lays. Yeah.
That's on the table for someone his size in this division.
Heavyweights are up next at UFC Fight Night 267 as Sergey Spivak faces off against Ante Delija. Spivak, the 31-year-old Moldovan, is 17-6 overall. He's 8-6 in the UFC. He has lost 3 of his last 4, including his last 2 in a row, comprising both of his cage appearances of 2025. He got pounded out in the first round by Jailton Almeida last January, then came back last June at UFC 316 and came out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision against Waldo Cortez Acosta. He'll look to snap that losing streak against Delija, who is looking to bounce back from his own loss to Cortez Acosta. 35-year-old Croatian is 26-7 overall. He is 1-1 since joining the UFC as a longtime former standout in PFL. He was PFL's heavyweight tournament winner in 2022, the runner-up in 2021, but he came to the UFC in 2025 and won his first 2 fights by first-round knockout before running into Cortez Acosta at UFC Fight Night Garcia versus Onama last November. Cortez Acosta knocked Delija out in the first round. Delija looking to bounce back from that. He is favored to do so. He is -160, Spivak +130. This card has 2 of the 3 fighters on it that I was most wrong about ahead of their UFC debut. I've been doing these previews for the for Sherdog for 5 or 6 years at this point with Keith. Literally hundreds of debuting fighters. The 3 that I've been most wrong about in just dismissing them as not UFC level, and they turned out to be much better than I expected: Sergey Spivak, Uroš Medic, and Eileen Perez. I'm glad Perez isn't on this card, but about Spivak, and this is all the way back in 2018. I said, because at the time he was like a 24-year-old kind of baby fat, unskilled heavyweight. And I said, if you're making it to the UFC and 2 of your last 3 wins were over Travis Fulton and Tony Lopez, you're not ready for the UFC. And when he debuted and Walt Harris wrecked him in under a minute, I was like, I'm dead right. This Spivak guy is going to be back in Moldova in 8 months. He's not cut out for the UFC. And instead, he actually made it into the top 10. In fact, he probably only fell back out of the top 10 last year. Like, Spivak he's been much better than I expected, but we have seen now what his ceiling is. because we've seen Spivak at his best. When he came to the UFC, like I said, he was kind of a dumpy, pudgy heavyweight. Within the first 2 or 3 years, he lost like 30 pounds of fat and put on some muscle and became, if not a good athlete, the best athlete he could be by the standards of the division. His striking has come a ways, but and Spivak still doesn't piss away fights he should win for the most part, but it's become pretty obvious. Like, if Spivak is the better wrestler, you're going to have a rough night. If you're a better wrestler than Spivak, he's going to have a tough night. It's kind of that simple. Like, he annihilated Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis normally kind of feasts some wrestlers. He annihilated Marcin Tybura in their rematch. Just, he had come a long ways and Tybura had plateaued. But against people like Gane, like Almeida, like Aspinall, he's really struggled. When he can't decide to bring the fight to the ground when and where he wants, you get to see how slow his hands and feet are. The fact that he doesn't have great reach for a heavyweight and just kind of throws basic looping strikes with decent but not overwhelming power. Like, the real limitations of his kind of physicality and the striking game come to the forefront. And that's going to spell bad news against Delia, I think. Delia honestly has been better in the UFC than I expected as well. Like, I figured he'd be okay, but he's looked pretty damn good. Like, he got blown out by Cortez Acosta, but I'm going to wait another fight or two to see whether that was just an aberration. But Delia is almost the opposite of Spivak physically. Like, Spivak is this kind of shorter, barrel-chested heavyweight, and Delia is more like the long and lanky type. He's like 6'5", long arms, long legs. He's quicker than I thought. I thought of him as kind of a lumbering Alexander Volkov type, but his punches and kicks have been snappier in the UFC than I expected them to be. And for a guy that's kind of a Cro Cop protege, he's a better wrestler than Cro Cop ever was. Like, Cro Cop had incredible takedown defense, but Delia is a good offensive wrestler too. I think that, and that's kind of why I'm leaning towards him here. I think this is going to look like an Ante Delia fight where Spivak is, again, kind of coming in on straight lines against a faster footed guy with better reach, better fundamentals, who understands lateral movement. And yeah, Sergey's going to be kind of coming in with haymakers, trying to punch his way into the pocket, trying to haul Delia down. And I think he's going to get jabbed. He's going to run into knees, run into uppercuts. I think he might try to corral Delia against the fence and get his takedowns there. I don't think he's going to like what he gets there, though. Yeah, I'm not usually a lock of the guy type, but in relation to what the line looks like, I feel more comfortable with Delia here than I do about some of the other fights on this card. I think this is a bad style matchup for Spivak. And even though Spivak's only like 30 or 31 years old and could conceivably have another decade to develop in this division, I feel like he's kind of starting to plateau. Of the two, even though Delia is like 36 or 37, I think he's the one more likely to look better than his last outing than Spivak is. So give me Delia in a pretty one-sided decision.
Yeah, even though Delia got knocked out his last time out, like, he had the eye poke thing happen against Cortez, and like, he kind of like really was going after Cortez Acosta and was like doing really well. And yeah, he got knocked out. But if you go back and watch that fight, like, that could have also, if the eye poke thing didn't go down the way, like, it could have been very easily a TKO stoppage for Delia. He jumped the fence, he celebrated, he had this huge and crazy adrenaline dump. And then he's like, he's told he's got to go back and fight again. And it's like, what the, like, what the fuck? Kind of similar to like Anderson Silva and Bisping. That fight should have been stopped. I will always say that, the Anderson Silva Bisping fight, like, come on. And then you look at it from Cortez Acosta's perspective, and Cortez Acosta, like, he was gifted another chance, so he had to make something happen with it. And Cortez Acosta, as much as it pains me to say this, like, he's a good heavyweight. I'll never say that again. Cortez Acosta stinks, I'm kidding. Anti-Delia, he's got good hand speed. He's just fast too. Like he's gonna be way fucking faster than Spivak. Spivak, he's a good grappler. He's crafty, but like even he did beat Tybura. He nailed that slick submission like off his back or whatever. But like he was also kind of getting beat up a little bit and chucked around by Tybura. It's funny because he got like plugged on the feet by Gelatin Almeida. Like that was not like him getting taken down. Like he actually had grappling success against Almeida, and then Almeida, denied that and hurt him on the feet. Dude, if you're getting buzzed on the feet by Gelatin Almeida, like Anti-Delia is just gonna go. I think this fight is gonna start, and Delia is just going to go and blitz him. Spivak does not like. He's one of those dudes you can tell he does not like getting hit as well. Like Anti-Delia's got plenty of hand speed. He will throw in combination. If Spivak takes the back foot, I could just see, and that's where Delia thrives. Like you go look at any of his like finishing sequences, like, and he's lacing dudes up against the cage. I think Delia is gonna probably knock him out in the first like 2 minutes of this fight. So give me Delia by a round 1 knockout. I think he's just gonna be way quicker, have way more hand speed, and Spivak has no back foot counter punching game and no back foot defense. If he takes the back foot and Delia is throwing blitzing combinations at him, Delia's just gonna go throw like an 8-punch combination and just like TKO him against the cage. That's what I really see happening. Delia around 1 knockout. He's coming back. Old Tri-Nips is back, baby.
Third from the top at UFC Houston is a featherweight matchup between Dan Ige and Melquizael Costa. Ige, the 34-year-old Hawaiian, is 19-10 overall. He's 11-9 since joining the UFC out of the very first season of Dana White's Contender Series. He is coming in off a loss and has actually lost 3 of his last 4, but he fought most recently last July at UFC 318, where he came out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision against Patricio Pitbull. So he's looking to bounce back from that, looking to confirm that he can be something more than just a all-time action hero in this deep division against Costa. 29-year-old Brazilian is 25-7 overall. He is 6-2 in the UFC. Worth noting that he's 6-1 at featherweight. He made his debut on short notice 3 years ago against Thiago Moises, stepping in up a weight class against a recent former top 10 guy, and actually acquitted himself pretty well before getting tapped out in the second round. Since then, again, 6-1, and he has won 5 in a row, including his first round knockout of Morgan Charrier at UFC on ESPN Royval versus Kopp last December. That was his last outing. Odds favor Costa. Take a guess at what the line is, Dev.
Costa's minus 240.
That's not bad. He's minus 240 on some books. I have him down at minus 210. That was more like a median of the main sites available in the US, but that is close enough for horseshoes. That is closer than Keith ever gets. So good job. Dan Ige is an obvious future member of the Hall of Fucking Awesome. He is a made man as far as UFC action heroes go. He is the kind of guy that could lose 6 fights in a row, and the UFC is probably not going to let him go. We all remember, of course.
Yeah, no, sorry. He's the kind of guy that will get off the massage table and drive to the arena and fight you on 2 hours notice.
At 160 pounds, when I'm already kind of small for 145, that's Dan Ige. Obviously, he is absolutely the man. But the thing about Ige is, he is kind of the antithesis of the stereotypical just scrap Hawaiian fighter. He's more of an example of the new breed of Hawaiian fighter that, for the most part, come to Las Vegas to train and are well-rounded mixed martial artists. Like, that's what he's really the flag carrier for. I mean, basically every top Hawaiian fighter except for Holloway, like, trains in Vegas. But
Holloway's been at the same camp his entire MMA career.
Which I love that.
And he's gotten significantly better.
Not everybody can do that.
Like what? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Uh, the thing about Ige is he has decent power, but he's actually a fundamentally sound kickboxer. He's a good pocket boxer, very underrated wrestler, but underrated sometimes through nobody's fault but his own, because it can be underused sometimes, but usually comes in with good game plans. But he's always been a little undersized for the division. And given his usual high volume striking approach, he's always been kind of hittable. He wins a lot of bonuses for that reason. He's kind of a reliable action fighter, but that means he gets hit cleanly a lot in victories as well as losses. It's the kind of approach that was going to cost him eventually, and you can tell, like, it is remarkable that somebody like Danny Gay has still never been stopped in the UFC, like the way he fights and the people he's fought. But you can see that in the last 2 years or so, he's been easier to hurt, easier to rock, slower to recover. The time is coming when he faces a guy that's just bigger, younger, faster, with big power in his hands, and is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and a career, a lifetime of living dangerously in the cage catches up with Ige all at once. And you know what? I'm describing Melquizael Costa right now, aren't I? Yeah. Costa has had a fantastic run in the UFC. Again, we give him a pass on the debuting on day's notice up a weight class against Thiago Moises. And again, he was kind of putting it on Moises before, got tired, got caught, got taken down, got tapped out. But Costa has big power. He doesn't come from the same camp, but he's got a kind of vibe of the fighting nerds guys in those same weight classes. The good power in both hands. He himself is pretty easy to catch on the feet. Like, he gets hit a lot. He likes getting in just Dustin Poirier type phone booth gunfights at close range, where kind of like someone like Poirier, he just trusts his chin, his reflexes, that I'm going to slip and parry a few of your punches. I'm going to come back with bigger power, and you're going to go down first. I think this is going to be a barn burner of a fight, but they're going to engage at close quarters. Lots of punches are going to be flying back and forth. Both guys are going to get caught cleanly, but at this point, just one is going to be able to take it better than the other. Danny Ige, this will be his 30th professional fight. Like I said, he is already a made man as a UFC all-time action hero. And it always feels weird to pick something we've not seen before, but I think we're going to see Danny Ige stopped on strikes here. Give me Melquizael Costa by second round TKO.
What's funny is Melky actually has more pro fights than Dan Ige.
Thanks to coming up regionally in Brazil. Or or you're gonna fight 6 times a year easy. Yep.
On the daycare interlocking soft mats.
Hey, so you remember my scouting report on Eileen Perez?
Yeah. Your scouting report is don't look at my checking account history. There's a monthly subscription. Melky Costa, both of these dudes are good.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these dudes are good. Dan Ige is also a victim of just fighting the best fucking dudes of this generation, period.
Mm-hmm.
He lost a fight to Pitbull, his last time out. Yeah, Pitbull, one of the better 45ers of this generation. He knocked out Sean Woodson, looked very fucking good doing that.
Yes.
He lost to Lerone Murphy, who should and could be fighting for a title, but is in a title eliminator against another dude that should be fighting for the title. He lost to Diego Lopez on 15 minutes notice, where Diego Lopez is the dude that had the fight camp. This dude came off the massage table and like started lumping up Diego Lopez in the 3rd round of that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, knocked out Andre Fili, who is a literal UFC OG. Lost to Bryce Mitchell, a very, love him or hate him, a very, very good fighter.
Yep.
Beat Nate Landwehr, who's very good. Knocked out Damon Jackson, who was on a bit of a run. You know, had a good fight with Movsar Evloev. Had a really, really close fight with like a prime Josh Emmett back in 2021. You know, oh no, he lost to Calvin Kattar like back in 2020. Beat Edson Barbosa. Beat Mirsad Bekti. Like, he's fought a lot of really good dudes. Melky Costa, you know, he's definitely not fought the same caliber of dudes. Morgan Charrier is good, but you run that back. I don't know if he's going to pull that same head kick off, but it was fucking incredible. You know, he beat Julian Erosa. That was a really good win. His C-Rod win is probably his best win.
I would say it is. Especially because C-Rod was on that streak of just being the prospect killer.
And he went out there and just kind of... what concerns me in a fight against someone like Dan Ige is his fight with like Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia is on an absolute killing spree. But Dan Ige he's fought way more dangerous dudes than Melky Costa. Like, this dude went tit for tat with Korean Zombie, went tit for tat with Josh Emmett, tit for tat against a 2020 version of Calvin Kattar. Like, those are all dangerous dudes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the upset and pick Dan Ige here because I
love it.
Just think, I think he's the more durable dude of the two, and I think he's the harder puncher of the two. I could look like an absolute idiot, but just in prolonged exchanges, because that's what Melky wants to have. Like, over a 3-round fight, like, we've seen Dan Ige just do this before.
Yep. And
I would not be surprised if this like looks like the Feely fight or like looks like the Sean Woodson fight, where like it's close, and then all of a sudden he's like backed him up against the cage and hit him with a big overhand. Dan Ige's got good power.
Yeah.
And he's durable as shit.
Dude, you named all the people he's fought. He's still never been stopped with strikes. Like, I know that I'm out on a limb.
Dropped. Like, he's incredibly durable. Yeah. Like he went tit for tat with a 2021 Josh Emmett. Like, that's around when Josh Emmett fought Leah Topuria.
Yeah.
Who also couldn't kill Josh Emmett. Just, I think Melky Costa's very good. But not being finished also means he's never been submitted. And I don't know. Steve Garcia is really, really good. But I could just see Dan Ige being like, yeah, your youthful shot out of a cannon game just isn't going to work on a veteran like me. So give me Dan Ige in the upset, but I'll probably
love it.
Stupid. You're probably right.
That brings us to the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 267, a welterweight matchup between Jeff Neal and late notice opponent Uroš Medic. Neal, the 35-year-old Texan, is 16-7 overall. He's 8-5 since joining the UFC out of season 1 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's coming in off a loss and has in fact lost 3 of his last 4. He fought just once last year. It was UFC 319 in August, where he got knocked out by Carlos Prates with a buzzer-beating spinning back elbow at the end of the first round. So he's looking to turn around his fortunes. Made some news this week just with the revelation that he's finally cleaned up after apparently struggling for a couple of years with substance abuse issues that never put him completely on the shelf, but clearly could not have been great for his performances. So we'll see if we get a new look Neal in the cage. The man testing that will be, ironically enough, the doctor, Uroš Medic. Serbian American by way of Alaska, 12-3 overall, 6-3 since joining the UFC out of season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's on a 2-fight win streak, both of them first round knockouts, identical at 1 minute and 3 seconds apiece. That's a UFC record. The most recent of those was against Muslim Salikov back in November at UFC Fight Night, Bonfim versus Brown. Medic is actually stepping in here on about 4 weeks' notice. This was going to be Neal versus Kevin Holland, giving the UFC a guaranteed Texan winning in the co-main event. But Holland fell off the card for reasons I'm not sure were ever made clear. And in steps Medic on, again, like 4 weeks' notice. The favorite is minus 200, underdog plus 170. Who are they, Dev?
Jeff Neal's the favorite.
You are correct. Jeff Neal's the favorite, minus 200. Uroš Medic plus 170. Obviously, it's concerning that, Jeff Neal's substance problems were as significant as he makes it sound like. It makes me wonder.
Surprised.
Well, no, because he had the
firearm thing happened.
The firearm thing, it was like, I think 4 years ago on Thanksgiving morning, where you got pulled over like before dawn with an open bottle and a gun in his car. And I remember talking about it at the time, because again, like, I'm a Texas guy. And I was like, this is exactly the kind of story you hear and then see the fighter in question just completely self-destruct personally over the course of the next year. And please, God, let that not be Jeff Neal. And instead, we never heard about it again.
He's done a good job at hiding it, clearly.
No, clearly been white-knuckling it. And as he pointed out, talking about it in the news this week, I might not have been fighting at my best, but it's pretty remarkable I stayed ranked the whole time.
Yeah. That, and then also consistently just working in the restaurant industry, well, that makes sense,
yeah,
because like he never gave up his waiting job, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I gotta.
You always know where your hookup for blow is if you work at a restaurant, like
it's just, I've worked in a restaurant. I do.
Yeah. Assuming Neal is at least the guy he was last year, this is a terrible style matchup for Medic, because
dude, Medic is literally kill or be killed. Fortunately for him, he kills more than he be kills. But like, he be getting killed. Like he gets
absolutely
killed even when he wins via kill.
No, it's ironic because he is what the UFC was hoping Slava Claus would turn into, like a
100%.
And kind of like Slava Barshov, Medic is like an actual, credentialed kickboxer with terrible takedown defense, and takedown defense is still bad, but he's also proven to be hittable and kind of easy to hurt. Especially for the
Gilbert Urbina, like, damn near killed him. Like,
Gilbert Urbina. Yeah, he knocked out Gilbert Urbina in a minute, but Gilbert Urbina almost knocked him out
in 30 seconds.
Yeah, Gilbert Urbina almost knocked him out in 30 seconds. Yeah, and same for, like, he knocked out Muslim Salikov in 63 seconds back in November, but if he and Muslim Salikov fight 10 times, probably 8 of them end in first round knockouts, 4 for each guy. Like, it wasn't a 100%. Demonstration of just categoric superiority. Here's the problem. Neal isn't a huge welterweight, but he's going to be bigger than Medic. He is every bit as good he's a better kickboxer defensively, and he's at least as accurate and diverse on the offensive end, has better natural power, and on top of everything else, Neal can take Medic down if he wants. I don't think he's going to. I think we're going to get a kickboxing battle here. And again, if these guys fight 10 times, Medic wins a couple of them. Like, Medic, I underestimated him famously when he joined the UFC. I'm not even going to go back over it. I dismissed him badly enough that, like, Anchorage BJJ blew us up about it, and they were right and I was wrong. But
really, did they?
Yeah. funny. It's funny because they blew up Keith, and Keith's the one that picked Medic to win his UFC debut. I'm the one that picked against him. But Medic, even like because he was a huge lightweight, but you know, he does have fast hands. He has some nasty kicks. He has good power. Just yeah, he's defensively kind of flawed and doesn't have. It runs on his durability, and he doesn't have the durability to pull him through all of these types of firefights. But he's won 2 of them in a row in spectacular fashion. I don't think he wins that kind of firefight against Neal. Yeah, this is a bad matchup for Medic. If they fight 10 times, Medic does knock him out once or twice, but I would take Neal 7 times out of 10 in this. Give me Neal by first round knockout on Saturday.
What concerns me about Jeff Neal is like, sometimes you hear these stories like I've been, first off, brother, you just like stop watching John Jones. Like, okay. But no, in all reality, you hear the stories where it's like, I got clean, I got my act together, only to go out there and just like be worse than you ever were.
Yeah.
Like that's such an MMA thing to just happen in general, where it's like, oh, like this is a habit that should have been kicked like before it started type of thing with the type of career. And it could just be, too much damage, too many knockouts too late. Jeff Neal is incredible. He's got really good boxing. For a southpaw, I wish he would have developed his lead hand more. Like if you go watch his like Vicente Luque finish where he's just like throwing the rear hand like a billion times at him over just like literally spamming. But he's got like one of the best southpaw straight lefts just like in the UFC. Like he throws that shit like a fucking piston. It doesn't load up. It's accurate. He himself has good power. He was doing decently well up against Carlos Pratas up until Carlos Pratas spun like a top and fucking killed him.
Yeah.
Jeff Neal, like he's fought the much better dudes.
Yeah.
Like yeah, he got knocked out his last time out. That's tough. But Carlos Pratas is Carlos Pratas, and that's how he wins his fights. He lost a splitty to Ian Gary that he arguably won. Had a really close fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov up until he got finished with that crazy, like he's definitely fought the better dudes. I think it's a little bit more of a potential 50-50 fight just based off of where these dudes both are currently. And Jeff Neal is 35. He has his stuff together, but like he's taken a ton of damage in the UFC too. Versus Medic, who is all around probably more offensively dynamic just because he has like more tools than Jeff Neal. But Uros Medic is way more killable. Like just as in general. Jeff Neal, unless you hit him with a crazy spinning back elbow, like go look at a Shavkat Rakhmonov fight.
Yeah.
Like he took a fuck ton of punishment from Shavkat. It'd be a lot easier for me to just pick Jeff Neal if that Carlos Pratas fight didn't happen.
Yeah.
If we were just like coming off that Ian Gary split decision loss, I'd be like, yeah, Jeff Neal. But I also wouldn't be surprised if like Medic just like laces him with a head kick. Like that's a thing that could totally happen in this fight.
Yes.
100% what could happen. But Medic is just flawed. Like his boxing defense is flawed. And Jeff Neal is going to be probably like the first opponent that has ever thrown that straight left as fast and as hard. I'm going to pick him to knock out Uros Medic in the first round with that straight left. Not a gambling man anymore, but like fight doesn't go the distance.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Like Uros Medic has never been to a decision.
Like I'll throw in like a quick anecdote just because we're actually making pretty good time for a 14 fight card and we don't have story time with Keith this evening. Actually,
one
a
wants to
couple
hear my
years.
stories.
Yeah, it's a couple years ago when the UFC was down here in Houston. And anytime they're down here in Houston, what they'll do on the off day during fight week, which is usually Thursday, they'll do an open, like a small open workout at a local gym. Like it's usually Henzo Gracie Clear Lake. And this one I went to, and Jay Petrie was actually there for that one as well. The open workout, it was a bunch of Fortis guys, and hearing Uriah Hall and Jeff Neal hold pads for each other, like literally 3 feet away from me, is one of the more terrifying things I've been that close to. Like the amount of, and obviously Uriah Hall has shocking power.
He just killed someone in karate combat with a spinning wheel kick or spinning back kick. Sorry.
Yeah, that's Uriah Hall. But then when they traded the pads, and Jeff Neal, who he's not that much bigger than me, had like 95% of the same pop. It was shocking. And dude, I've been around like lots of professional fighters. Like I go to the gym owned by a recently former UFC welterweight. Like to hear that kind of power coming out of Jeff Neal was shocking. Anyway, yeah.
Hey, Alex Morono has had enough fights and he has done enough work for the UFC where you can just say UFC fighter. Doesn't matter if he's former or current. He did the damn thing.
And because
flowers.
Because he like walks around like 181 pounds out of camp, he can always get the call on short notice. I bet he'll fight again this year for the UFC. We'll see.
And if he doesn't, good for him. He's done. Yeah. He's earned his keep, for lack of better terms, for sure. Jeff Neal round 1 KO is.
Yeah. With that, we come to the main event of UFC Fight Night 267, a potential title eliminator, very high level middleweight contenders bout, no matter what, between Sean Strickland and Anthony Hernandez. Strickland, the 34-year-old Californian, is 29-7 overall. He is 16-10 in the UFC. He's 9-4 at middleweight. He had some injuries early in his career, including motorcycle wreck that required knee surgery. Since coming back, he's given up bouncing back and forth between welterweight and middleweight, and staying at middleweight paid off for him as he is now the former champ. He won the title a little over 2 years ago from Israel Adesanya. Was not able to hold on to it. He now has 2 losses to Dricus du Plessis, fellow former champ. So a bit of an interesting route back to the title for him, but getting a win over Hernandez would certainly go a long way towards it. Hernandez, 32-year-old Californian, 15-2 with 1 no contest overall, 9-2 since joining the UFC out of season 2 of Dana White's Contender Series, and he is on an 8-fight win streak since losing to Kevin Holland almost 6 years ago. He fought most recently last August in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 72, where he choked out Roman Dolidze after 4.5 rounds of Sherdog's beatdown of the year. His second beatdown of the year in a row for Sherdog.
Bro, that was like some fucking, that was like the most world star hip hop. Like, I follow the social media account, and it's like, I think it's called like Texas Street Fights, and it's like some person that goes around to all the bars late at night when they close in like Austin, Texas, and he just catches all the street fights. Like, that was just such a like, he drugged Dolidze like a good. How far would he have taken him if the ref wasn't there?
I don't know, maybe halfway back to California. I don't know, man. Yeah, Hernandez looking for his 9th straight win in the UFC, one that, you know, you would think would punch his ticket to a title shot. He is favored to get it done. Take a guess at what the line is, Dev.
Minus 220.
He is a bigger favorite than that. I have him at minus 300. He comes in a little under that on a few books, but minus 300 is the best price you're likely to get right now in North America.
That's kind of crazy.
It's interesting because thus far Hernandez has been more than equal to the challenges put in front of him. Again, he's the first person ever to win Sherdog's Beatdown of the Year 2 years in a row. And for him to be doing that in the 6th and 8 fights of an 8-fight win streak means that he is improving at a pace that is outpacing the competition the UFC is throwing in front of him. Like, he's won 8 fights in a row, so they're presumably giving him tougher and tougher matchups, and he is still whipping those people so bad that it's turning into like the signature beatdown of the year. I don't know if he keeps that going against Strickland. Here's the thing. He's comfortably favored for a reason, but Strickland is another guy that it turned out was kind of made for long haul fights. I don't know if Strickland wins the fight. I'm picking Hernandez to win the fight, but Strickland might be the first guy Hernandez has fought in the UFC where I could see him winning the 5th round. Strickland is a bit of a builder. It's remarkable how much he has gotten done in the UFC with not much more than walking forward, throwing a jab, and throwing a cross about every 3rd jab. Like, it seems simple, but that's what he's left with. The motorcycle wreck is almost the best thing that ever happened to him, because before that he was an athlete, and he was actually a very good underrated wrestler. Like, he had big power. He's kind of explosive. He's had to become a lot more conservative since coming back from injury. His wrestling has mostly disappeared, and he's admitted it's like, it's hard for me to change levels. It's hard to shoot takedowns like on my knees now. And knowing that he doesn't really have the wrestling anymore, and knowing that especially at 185 he's just not a power hitter, he's crafted almost the perfect game plan to allow him to, like, crafted the perfect game to allow him to do as well as possible with the tools he has. It's kind of remarkable, like, how much of a knucklehead he comes off about everything not related to fighting. Like, frankly, kind of an idiot. How smart he is as a fighter.
He's the type of person that's like, if you told me he like eats handfuls of rocks, I would just believe it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, if you watch him fight, you would be like, oh, this is a dude that's like trying to preserve his brain and stuff.
Yeah. This guy beat Israel Adesanya with basically nothing but a jab.
I watched that fight today, and he beat Israel Adesanya because his hand fighting is very good. He is like one of the only fighters in the UFC. Alex Pereira exposed him for it because he'll reach and, do like tons of parrying and blocking and hand fighting. This could just be like a sneaky, weird, bad matchup for Fluffy. The more tape I watch and the more I kind of just think about it. Like, you just like look at that like Brendan Allen fight where like Fluffy is really awesome when like he is the one driving the car. He's the guy with the better cardio. He's the guy with the better grappling. He's the one that's making it nasty. But Sean Strickland has a game. First off, I guess after like sometime after, somewhat recently, he said that he was like super injured and effed up real bad going into that second Dricus fight. And it kind of looked that way. But also Dricus is huge, champion of the division. And like Dricus has like the power and the size to like punch with Strickland. And he would go and throw 3-4 punch combinations. Like, Fluffy's not that dude. Fluffy's striking has come a long way, and he's got like decent, okay power. But like, he's small. He's like one of the smallest, highly ranked dude in this. Like, he could totally just be a welterweight, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Sure.
And if this middleweight thing, he's doing great. But if this becomes like a failed endeavor where he like loses to Sean Strickland and like loses to a Bo Nickal, maybe he goes to test out the waters there. I could totally see him doing that potentially. But Strickland's game is also just set up to like, he's a really good scrambler. He's got like really good butterfly hooks. We saw him get taken down by Dricus, even really injured, and like still get up. And, Dricus got out wrestled by like the best grappler in the UFC or the second best grappler in the UFC in Hamzat. But look what Dricus has done to like Israel Adesanya, or like look what he did. Like he tosey passed Robert Whittaker and like fucking crushed him on the ground.
Yep.
Like Dricus is a good topside wrestler. And he's fucking huge. Like
Yes.
Fluffy is a better chain wrestler.
Mhm.
But Dricus on top, like he's got incredible ground and pound. He's huge. One thing's for certain, Dricus is bigger and significantly stronger than Fluffy.
Yeah.
And Sean Strickland's got this weird game where he's like got a really educated jab. He doesn't take a lot of, damage. And his teeps, like his game is just set up to he's got a very like just like a jousting game where like if you want to enter the pocket, pop, he'll
It's
just pop you
it,
with something, and then you're forced to
it's the
reset.
it's the exact opposite of what you expect his game to be based on how he talks.
And I think other people in this division, like, maybe like the Brendan Allen fight. I don't know. Like, I go back and Fluffy supposedly went into that fight super injured, like with staph
Yeah.
and stuff. So like, it's kind of hard to hold that against him. But Sean Strickland, like, we know that he's got 5-round cardio.
Oh yeah.
Like he came off the couch and fought up at 205 against Imavov. If this was Imavov, I'd be instantly picking Fluffy, because I've seen Imavov just like get taken down and like sit on his back and not, and just be and not defend the takedown and just sit there and chill. But like Strickland, we've never seen Strickland like. Have you ever seen Strickland just get sat on and controlled on the ground for more than 30 seconds in a fight? Like
No,
since
I
he's
like
came back?
no. You know what he is? He's
It's a good-
He's American Michael Bisping.
Literally.
Like he can be taken down, but just has great hips, great butterfly hooks, and just does not concede the ground game. Like he gets back to his feet as quickly as possible because he's a high volume, low power striker who needs to spend a lot of time on the feet to win rounds against you. Like he's American Michael Bisping.
And he's got better defense.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like
Better
it's not
defense.
a perfect, it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but like that's what kind of Strickland's kind of get up game makes me think of, is prime Bisping.
We know Fluffy is going to go and just press Strickland, and Strickland. It's funny because like some fights he'll try to counterpunch. Like he actually counterpunched a ton with Izzy, where he would throw the first strike, in their sequence in their exchange. Izzy would throw back, he would just parry it and then just throw like a looping shot and crack Izzy. And like he hurt Izzy like several times throughout that fight.
Yeah.
Almost finished him in the first round. And it's, I don't know. I'm gonna pick Sean Strickland as an underdog here, and this again could absolutely blow up in my face. And I picked Sean Strickland to win fights that he wins, and I've also picked him to lose plenty of fights. Picked him to win fights and he loses them, like the Dricus fights. I thought the first Dricus fight could have gone his way, and then he like came back, and apparently he was super injured, but like lost even worse and like got his nose fucking broken. I just struggle to see Fluffy. If Fluffy goes out here and consistently wins his fight and makes it look like, the Delize fight, then signed, sealed, delivered. Give this guy a fucking title fight. He's the dude. I just don't know if Strickland is going to be bigger. He's going to be stronger than Fluffy, and this is going to be like one of the first dudes that Strickland's actually like bigger and stronger than. And the way that his game is set up, like he's a great scrambler, and everything he throws is straight. And if you're coming in on a straight line as a wrestler and you're just getting jabbed and then teeped and like you're just constantly resetting over and over and over and over again, where it's like, okay, well, at what point do you start to do your thing? Yeah, this could also blow up in my face because he could. Strickland isn't dangerous enough to like hurt Fluffy and make him go away. So this could all, could be close 2 rounds, and all of a sudden Fluffy just starts turning him into a pretzel. But I'm going to take Sean Strickland to win like the last 3 rounds of this fight. And by the 5th round, we're like, man, I guess he's here again. I don't know. I'm really on the fence. Like, I think most people are just gonna be like, Fluffy, he's incredible. He's streaking. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna turn Strickland into a pretzel. But it's like when you really watch the tape and you really think about it, I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen him do anything to someone like a Sean Strickland, because Sean Strickland's his own weird ass puzzle.
Yeah.
Like there's no other Sean Strickland. So Sean Strickland, I think.
I love the pick, and I agree with you in that I think this is going to be a tough fight for Hernandez to look great. Like the revelation about Hernandez over the last couple of years, and again, his last 3 fights, there's the 2 just absolute maulings of Pereira and Delize, and then the performance against Brandon Allen where he won, but it definitely was not his best showing. Like, assuming that one was the aberration, that he did have health issues going to it or whatever, and the Delize and Pereira fights are a better example of where he's at right now. The thing that's changed about Hernandez is that he doesn't have to wait and pull ahead on these fighters and wear them down and build. Like, he's jumping on them right off the bat, and that's where these just legendary ass kickings are coming in. It'll be tough to do that against Strickland. Strickland's a pretty fast starter himself, and he's a fast starter in that he just gets on his train and starts piling up the volume early. That, and the fact that, again, Strickland has tons of 5-round fight experience at this point and is durable, high volume, hard to hurt. I think this is going to be a closer, more competitive fight than the 3-1 line would imply. I think it's one where we could see split scorecards. We could have the thing where I'm picking Hernandez to win the decision, but I might be sitting on the recap saying, yeah, I picked it right, but I think Strickland actually deserved the win. I think this is going to be a close fight. It's going to be one where Hernandez is not necessarily dazzling, and it's not because of anything wrong with him, but just because Strickland is a tough guy to look great against in a fight like this. But I will take Hernandez to win 3 rounds out of 5. It's just, again, Strickland is the first guy he's fought where I could see Strickland winning the 5th round against Hernandez. But yeah, so we have a little bit of disagreement up and down this card, including the main event. And that is it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 267, Strickland versus Hernandez, also known as UFC Houston. I have been Ben. He has been Dev, once again kind enough to step up with Keith unavailable and preview this card with me. If this is your first time watching, we hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional asides that we think is pretty unique in this industry. Please do like, subscribe. Those things don't cost you anything. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. Drop us a comment. Dev and I both man the comment sections. We'd love to hear your take on these fights. And join us for the recap. I'm not sure who's going to be live, because, as I said, Jay Petrie and I will be covering this on Press Row or in the media room. We might do some sort of little stand-up at the actual venue, but we might have no show. We might have Dev and Dame run it. I'm not sure. But live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event, we'll talk about all these fights, talk with you about them. The live chat is open, so the hosts are taking your questions and your comments in real time. We'd love to see you there. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.
Go Texas.